Hello and welcome everyone. It's been quite the long journey and we're cresting it out into a close with one of our last two sets here. The clock can only turn so long on our Cinderella story, but as we're coming down to our last two sets of the season, we're going to have Sengoku Gaming taking on Detonation Focus Me. And it has been quite the journey to get here. We do, of course, have V3 Esports waiting in the finals. So grand finals will be either of these two teams taking them on at the final bout. Now, Worlds, of course, is also sitting at the end of this long journey for whichever of these three teams end up making it. We've laughed, we've cried, we've question pinged, and we've felt like we're ready to FF at 15 and a couple times. But to start talking about one of these teams and their tale of perseverance, I think DFM is the first team that I really want to start diving into. And the reason I want to look at DFM right off the bat is a lot of what DFM has been such a long story of past success and trying to emerge from the shadows of their former self. For those of you who may be just tuning in to the LJL finals, DFM may be a team that you remember. DFM made their big splash at 2018 Worlds by being the first Japanese team to make their way out of groups and to take home a win over Kaboom Esports. They beat them twice in their group and they made their way to bracket. They followed up that performance with a main bracket win in MSI 2019 as well, establishing themselves as sort of the LJL's banner bearers at international events. This title was forged through local region dominance as well, by being the multi-split champion since 2018 summer. With 4 split championships under your belt, there was a certain air of confidence coming into the summer split that DFM had rightfully earned. Coming into this split, though, was a rough beginning for DFM. They finished this regular split at 7-7, and for context, from 2019 spring to 2020 spring, they had lost a total of 7 regular season games, only to double that amount of losses on their next split. I talked about it before, is that this is it was a huge shock to so many of us, especially a ton of DFM fans who had come in and they're trying to figure out what is going on. Where is the Titan of the LJL that we once knew? Now, I will say, they have looked consistently more solid since about halfway through the split when it almost felt like they got their heads together. They had a rough start. Coming out of the middle of the split, they said, all right, rough beginnings, we can clean this up, we can keep going. And slowly but surely, they built it up brick by brick and they found their way into this seeding. They beat Burning Core in the first round of playoffs in a slugfest of 3-2, only to take on CGA in their next round, going 3-1 with them until they were finally able to make it to the top 3. Now, of course, I do want to talk about the teams here a bit, because this is what I always look at in the LJL as an all-star lineup. Evi in the top lane, Steel in the jungle, Saros in mid lane, Utapon in ADC, and Gang in support is your lineup for DFM. And a lot of different stats on the screen, and I know it's intimidating, but that's kind of why I want to talk about these lanes in terms of their all-star power, because it feels like every member of this team brings something special to the table that not saying the other members can't provide, but they do it in their own special way, and that's what I think makes DFM such an intimidating team and in such a monster to try and tackle and take down. I like to refer to this team as all-stars for exactly that reason. And starting that, I think you just start with Evi. Just going straight down the list here. You're going to want to keep an eye on top lane, especially for this matchup, as Oppamin of Sengoku is going to be happy to be going blow for blow with Evi up in the top side. But you can just see the amount of the performance, the show even, that Evi puts on in the top lane with a couple of his really just pop off champions, having very high KDA on a lot of those picks, and certainly assisting that is Steel in the jungle. And sometimes people have talked about Steel as a little bit of a lower aggression jungler, I guess is the best way to put it. But that being said, if you're lower aggression, but when you are aggressive, it works. That's a stat you can work off of. That is something that you can provide to your team. And having a KPA of 70% across the map is the kind of work that he puts in as a jungler so that Evi can have these all-star performances. And also, bleeding into that is Seros. And I think Seros, for this team, offers the most unique strength coming into especially best of 5 sets, where you're talking multiple layers of bans, adaptations, and things like that. Seros probably has the most diverse champion roster in mid lane, save for maybe Arya of CGA, who he was able to overcome. But Seros is a fairly strong laner with a plethora of champions, being the only mid laner to have played both Kog'Maw in the mid lane and Xerath in the mid lane. These two picks, they're poke mages, sure. In a meta where poke mage was really strong, but then people thought we'd figured it out. Oh, we'll just ban away a couple things. Oh, we'll just get rid of the Varus for you. We'll just get rid of the Zoe for you. Not so fast. Zeros still has a couple of tricks up his sleeves, pulling it out most recently in their set against CGA. Played multiple games of Nico and had very good success on them. And moving straight down the list, Yutapon, I think, is another member that you cannot count out in any light. And I don't want to talk about Yutapon or Gang in isolation, because I want to talk to them as a unit, what they do in the bot lane. While they don't always have the most impressive stats on paper in terms of the CS advantages they get, I think what really comes into play is how much of a bully Yutapon and Gang can be in those bot lanes, especially with how many games Yutapon has on Ezreal, and he's been able to provide very well for his team off of it. You give Gang picks like Bard, Leona, things that he has a little bit of lane control with, or he can move around the map very efficiently. I think both of them can easily bully out lanes. They can mess up a couple back timers. That means a Drake. That means 2 Drakes. Now suddenly, you're 1 Drake away from soul point. Or you bullied them out and they have to back. So now they can't be the first ones to rotate over to the Rift Herald. Otherwise, they miss this entire wave. It's these little things that I think add up for DFM in the amount of pressure that their bot lane admits in isolation. That once you add Steel into the mix, lane can get blown open right away, and that's things that you want to look at as DFM. That's play routes you can expect to see, is everything starts with Steel. Unless, of course, you're Evi. Evi has been known to get a couple solo kills from time to time, but it's just a matter... It's like knowing someone's going to throw the punch. You just can't tell when. And the Jack in the Box surprise could easily blow up into a 1k, 2k gold lead, and then suddenly you're losing turret plates, losing objectives, DFM are on a snowball, and you're out of the game. That's DFM's main game plan, is to use all of these different strengths in tandem to try and beat out, in this instance, Sengoku Gaming, which may be a big ask, because while we can look at Sengoku a bit, I think the next thing is, when you're talking about teams like this, and you're talking about Sengoku, is I often want to attribute their style to... They remind me of high-level LCK a lot of times, and I've mentioned this before on the broadcast. Their consistency, their team fighting, their macro, it all feels like a scientist that has carefully constructed each piece of their game plan, and when things are going according to procedure, they look equally as calculated in dismembering the competition. Things like that are what makes Sengoku stand out in my mind. That's a large part of the reason that so many of these members have the stat lines that they do. You're looking across and just advantages in all of the lanes, because whichever lane they decide is going to be a linchpin, they make it work, and then they just have a clinical game plan to execute on, where all of these members are able to follow through. Now, you might be looking at Yutori Maesh in the bot lane, and you might be thinking to yourself, he doesn't have the most impressive scoreline. I don't think these stats sell the person. As a player, the things he provides to the team usually end up coming in things like Ashe, Jhin, Ezreal, and you can see the win rates on all three of those champions there, where he has great KDA, great win rate. Just give him a long range utility tool that he can add to his team's performance. It's the scalpel. It's the precision, the laser-like cuts that he's able to make in the opposing team's armor that will allow his team to set up and start running across the map. Of course, Opperman, we mentioned him earlier in the top lane, is just such a brutal laner. I think among the top lane, Opperman, Evi, and Ray Farkey are like three top laners that you look at and you say these are probably your big three in the top lane. And I am so excited to be seeing these two go at it now. And of course, you have Blank in the jungle. You might recognize Blank from from a couple other regions, but I definitely think that Blank has been known at times to be slightly asleep at the wheel, which isn't exactly the best situation. But that being said, I think he is also one of the junglers that when Sengoku comes into a match prepared, and they've been doing their VOD reviews, they've been preparing for the matches, they look insanely dominant. And Blank is always a man that knows how to study a jungler and then try to exploit them based off that. In their set against V3 during the regular split, when V3 was looking indomitable, Sengoku was a team that was able to take a game off of them by using Blank to peak efficiency. Of course, Pyrion in the mid lane is no slouch either. Impressive stat lines on him. And we're always going to have good stats for these kinds of teams because these are your top three. These are the big three that you'll be seeing duking it out here, and easily any of these teams could be headed to Worlds this year and nobody would be surprised. I think both top and mid lane are going to be where we see the highest amount of action. I wouldn't be surprised if Sengoku try to get their bot lane involved as often as possible, but we'll see how that's able to be executed on if Yutapon is able to just kind of bully him out, Gang is able to help out there, and then you're able to neutralize Utotomeyashi's effect on the rest of the map. That's sort of the push and pull of that bot lane influencing what goes on the rest of the map. As far as predictions go, this may be a bit bold, but I still feel I have to hand this one to Sengoku overall. I would have to say that I'm probably looking at a 3-2, and reasons for that being is, while Sengoku are coming off of a loss, I do think that sort of plays into things, where Sengoku as a team are somewhat on a lower end of momentum than DFM are, coming off of 2 wins into this set. So that player mentality about that sort of thing can be definitely affected, especially with V3 having the convincing win that they did. But I think one thing that definitely two things really that stand out in my mind for DFM. One is we've still seen a couple of draft mistakes, just simple things where you look at their damage portfolios or you look at a couple of their picks that just kind of get hung out to dry at times. But more specifically, DFM might have a blue side crutch weakness. And I think that is definitely going to play into account here, where DFM as a team has been very, very solid overall, but they sometimes suffer from only getting wins on blue side. Their Burning Core series especially only wins on blue side, and then 2 wins in their most recent series on the blue side. So we'll have to see what we're in store for. You know it's going to be good, but we'll get right into that with picks and bans here. Starting this one up, Twisted Fate, a almost permaban for DFM at this point, followed of course by Nico, Caitlyn, and Orianna, interestingly enough, hitting the field. Now, a lot of these are traditional bans, but the Orianna might be a little bit of a telling one, banning that away from Pyrion. Of course, we don't know what went on in the scrims and what information they have in these 2 off weeks that we've had leading up to today, so possibly DFM could be looking at an Aphelios or something of that nature and wanting to kind of offer a couple of protection options. Of course, Aphelios has somewhat fallen out of good graces in most recent days, but We'll see Sengoku banning away Renekton as well. It's Morgana also going to be hitting the ban table, so a couple priority picks still on the table. Set, most notably, one of the strongest flex picks at the current moment. Could be locked in here. Offers a lot of flex potential early on in your draft. I've talked ad nauseum about how strong I think Set is, but of course there are champions like Zoe if you want to just be picking that one up for Pyrion in the mid lane, or grabbing priority on an AD. Things like Ashe, Bard. Skarner was not exactly what I had. Oh, you can't dodge in pro play. What is this? I believe Obama might have decided that wasn't his pick. We will, of course, wait for them to get right back into to Champs. Look, we might have had a slight disconnect here on one of the computers here. I don't know what the dodge timer penalty is in pro play, but I can't imagine it is very long. All of that being said, though, so Skarner, you know, I'm not opposed to Skarner. We have actually seen Skarner rising up in a couple other regions, most notably NALCS has been picking up on the Skarner hype train most recently. I believe LPL has also been dabbling a bit in the Scorpions' presence in the jungle. And I mean, Skarner definitely offers some strengths to your comp. It's a little bit of an awkward first pick. It does kind of mask the rest of your draft, as Skarner can kind of work with a lot of different team comps, but it's a little bit interesting to see it be prioritized so much. That's sort of a trade-off that you often see teams take, where this doesn't say a whole lot about our drafts, but there was no way you were going to pick this before us or you were going to ban it out. So we'll draft it up now and retain our other picks for later. Or you draft things more like Set, where they're a little bit more, or even Zoe, where they're a little bit more showing, but they don't offer the same concealment of what your draft entails, but they will allow you to have a free pick later on with that Skarner. On blue side, though, I definitely think it's more relevant, it's a little bit less relevant, because on the R4, R5, you're not throwing away your R4 pick to getting counterpicked. So there are different options there, but I'm sure we will be getting started up here shortly. In the meantime, of course, I do hope you guys are all enjoying yourself this evening. I know there's a lot of quality League of Legends to be tuning into between this and LCK finals. Although I know most people are predicting the 3-0 over on the LCK broadcast, but always show love to the other League of Legends scenes. I know there is also the other LJL broadcasts going on, but I appreciate that you guys chose Dr. No for your weekly LJL checkups. Always happy to have you all here. While we do have a little bit of time on our hands, I definitely kind of want to talk about blue side bias, which has seemingly grown in specifically LCK and LJL as we've crested into playoffs. I think with a lot of teams sort of starting to figure out drafts a little bit easier, or at least understanding where picks are supposed to come in and what kind of counter picks they have available to them, blue side has really risen in popularity And that becomes relevant against DFM, who are currently the biggest offenders of the almost 70% blue side win rate bias that is currently in the LJL. As now, each of these matches you're coming from loser's side of bracket. You don't really, you will never have first pick on blue side. Now, there is, of course, DFM have had wins on the red side. It's not impossible. But you're hoping that DFM took that into account coming into this draft, coming into this year, because now that we're looking at playoff matches where you can't afford even a game against a team like Sengoku, you're going to need all the advantages you can get. So let's not throw any away just because you can't get the side you want at the start. It is also the notion of, will we see Sengoku be taking advantage of such blue side advantages? They kind of got a little bit rocked in the V3 series. They did pull out a game, and they did have a fairly convincing game at that, but it was not a very pleasant series for many of Sengoku. It felt like they couldn't get a whole lot started against V3 Esports, who really kind of came in and shook up they really shook up the entire meta on Sengoku. And I think that is a way that you can try and beat Sengoku, is to just change enough about the game to not allow Sengoku to start checking off their itinerary of how they want the games to go. And with a player like Seros having so much flexibility in his drafts, there's a lot of potential for DFM to be pulling off just that. It will be the Skarner locked in. The refs are saying, yeah, you do have to keep that in, even if you dodge. You're not going to be able to swap out that pick. Unfortunately for them, I'm sure Opperman did intend for the Skarner after all. But with DFM drafting themselves up the Senna first off, and then picking it up with an Olaf right off the bat. A little bit of a blast from the past of earlier this split. While Skarner, of course, blast from a little bit further back, as we all remember the old days of Predator Skarner running up and down the rift. And it is a little bit worse with the changes to Predator, as Skarner doesn't exactly make great use of the additional move speed reset that you get after you kill whoever the Scorpion decides to sting. But Sengoku are going to be drafting themselves up a Zoe as well. And right now, I think Zoe is a great pickup. Things that will offer Sengoku a lot of zone control or potentially more pick options are both going to be on the menu. It's a little bit hard, as DFM drafting up the Skarner means Olaf can absolutely duel with Skarner if he ever finds him. He immediately negates that ulti, and it's very easy for him to chase down someone after he catches him. As DFM are looking at a bit of a Zyra. I would actually love to see a Zyra here. The amount of zone control that a Zyra offers, Heimerdinger, of course, also a fair fan of his zone control. I think this is a great draft so far from DFM. How else would you like to deter a Skarner? Prevent him from being able to walk all the way up to you. Put enough turrets in his way. Slow him down with the Glacial Augment coming out from a Senna. Makes the Neum Skarner a little bit less Neum. Kind of kicks him down into third gear. Unless, of course, Sengoku can get a ball rolling. So we'll see what's in store for the rest of this draft, as now the top lane bans are coming out. As you can imagine, Opperman and Evi have already been sizing each other up, as both Gnar and Aatrox hitting the ban table. Renekton already off the table. Be surprised if we saw Set continue his way through this draft so far, although Sengoku doesn't exactly make the best use of a Set. I would love to see some hype plays of DFM drafting it, and Evi ults the Skarner that is carrying one of his teammates backwards. Would be a pretty fun option to be seeing here, and if Sengoku let him have it, it might be a great R4 pickup for him. Gangplank is going to be taken off the table as well. Still a couple top laners still on the menu. Kennen has really fallen from good graces, but is still an is still a potential pick for that top lane. And of course, we are on 10.16, not adopting the 10.17, so although the patches have been fairly light as we are cresting into Worlds, that is taken into consideration as Shen being hovered here. Locking in your support is also not a terrible option, but it does kind of at least show Sengoku that that is an option that they have available. And of course, Shen with Olaf is a great combo. Just give him that much extra HP to be running in and just trying to force his way onto every opponent that he looks at, as Olaf is one to do on his quest to become the Highlander. But Shen can definitely make great use of that. He postures fairly defensively. Once DFM's lines get broken, however, Sengoku really have a lot of opportunities, but locking in the Thresh for NT here at the top lane, it's the last to be decided. Scion is not a bad option. Drafting tanks in general here for Sengoku is not a terrible option. But we're going to have a Graves locked in here. Is this the dreaded Skarner top lane of Myth and Legend? Was it only to bait out the Olaf in the end? Maybe Sengoku has a couple tricks up their sleeves. They're saying, alright V3, we saw you pull off some fun stuff. Now let's show you what we can do too, as DFM are going to be drafting up the Shen, putting that one into the top lane. Shen is fairly susceptible, as if you have a Skarner in the top lane, great gank assist, especially for a champion like Graves that brings primarily damage to a gank. That's an option you have available to him. Hopefully Oppamin's been practicing his Skarner, because we do not see a whole lot of Skarners in the top lane. And this is somewhat nice, as you can use a smokescreen to help deter the enemy advance, but Sengoku don't have any pressure to make plays happen right now. They can just play the poke game and try to win it out from there. Of course, Heimerdinger is somewhat hard to kind of play that into, especially with Senna healing, backing him up. But once fights break out, you know it's all breaking loose as we look across the lineups one more. Post-draft, I might want to hand this game to DFM. I know I did mention that this series is going to be very, very close, but I think Saros and Yutapon are both very comfortable on these champions. I think DFM, if they've learned anything, it's how to play defensively with Saros as that key. But you also are talking about potential Barons later on, where we definitely have seen DFM kind of hang themselves on their attempts to try and get into the jungle position. So we're gonna get right into the match here. Don't go anywhere. We're getting started here for you shortly. Right into a pause. Although Pause, of course, is on V3 Esports, so we're not going to be seeing him this game. But I'll keep you entertained in the meantime while we wait over here for the match to go ahead and get started up. Talking a little bit more about the draft in this game and what kind of things you might expect to see, is top lane has immediately been pushed into a halt until jungle intervention. Of course, you know, we do all know how early game scrapping can definitely go the way of Shen at times. Those empowered autos can really add up a lot of damage to kind of help him through the early game. The issue sort of becomes for the Skarner, as early, it's a little bit too hard for him to try to get good gank assists off. A level 3 might work, as you can have at least one stun option, but of course Shen will have E and will have flash, so he likely isn't going to die to that initial gank. The sort of issue that comes out is that Shen loves to build a ton of lane clear. We've seen even in the past, Tiamat plus Bombies is straight into Sunfire, into like, I'm gonna build tanky, but I want to shove these lanes as fast as possible. I want to have my stand divide ready on the map, and I want to be able to influence every other lane as often as possible. Pushing into a Skarner, however, changes things a bit, as now he's ulting you, he's pulling you under turret, there's a Graves there. Suddenly things start to look a lot worse for you if you do end up pushed up too often. It sort of presents gank opportunity to the enemy jungler, and then suddenly if you have a stand divide that's coming in, that's just the shield and then a paper mache Shen to be following him out, not exactly the Shen you want to be looking for. That said though, Olaf is absolutely a scrappy enough jungler and clears fast enough that he can offer protection to the top side of the map. Especially, we'll have to see where these junglers end up starting, as that will significantly influence how much pressure you can emit to either the top or the bottom side. If you can force Sengoku to be playing around the mid and bot ends of the map, then suddenly you're constantly looking at man advantage, where you don't have to worry about having your teleport for that. You can have just the stand divide and that's good enough, or you can just take a kill, back, reset the situation, then you still have teleport for later. Different options and different sort of fight timings that DFM are going to be looking to kind of try and influence as best as they can. Of course, their comp doesn't exactly do that the best outside of just sending Olaf to run in. Solar Flare does offer a little bit of engage range and can be somewhat useful for that aspect, but it's not exactly an easy ask, to be sure. And this is, of course, the first Skarner we are seeing in the LJL, and it's been a little bit interesting to see Skarner kind of come back into the meta. Higher clear speed junglers are typically swinging back in now, just because a lot of junglers are sort of, if you're not going to offer the same amount of utility as something like a set jungle, then you want something that can at least clear fast enough to keep pace with the Graves, the Nidalees, or just the Elises that haven't been showing up too often, but just that high gank doesn't even really need to be farming as much. You want something that can at least net the advantage as early as possible. As well as jungle being such an attackable role as of current, it's interesting to see it sort of pivot back to now junglers want to be attacking those 4 through 6 spawns on jungle creep so that you can be denying the enemy jungler levels 4, 5, and potentially 6 later on down the line. Of course, this is a Skarner in the top lane, and that changes the dynamic up a decent bit. Olaf has kind of been picked as the Skarner counter, which, on a personal note, is very... how do I put this? It's a counter pick in isolation. Unfortunately, this game is seldom played in isolation. And while Olaf can he can scrap with Skarner if he ever finds him in the jungle, and you do have that offered to you, it doesn't always come to fruition that way. As even right now, we're going to be seeing Sengoku 5 men strong in the bot lane, as Steel is on the other end of the map. They're going to pop the sweeper here, making their way forward. The sweeper should spot out the first ward here, and they should be able to clear that one away. But that'll be their call to back away and reset the situation. Seros, of course, already in the mid lane. Turrets set up. Has his triangle set. Will be shoving that lane into Pyrian constantly. And that's sort of the strategy named for Zoe, as clearing out the waves can be a little bit difficult with the Paddle Star splash damage early on. Once you're using those minion demats and you're able to kind of influence your damage on the waves, it becomes a lot easier. But Pyrian can definitely make this lane work. No slouches on the Rift here today, as Evi trying to zone away a little bit from the wave here. Goes for the empowered autos, but Opperman knew. Done a little bit of his research, played this game once or twice, and we'll see if Evi is the one who's been playing into a Skarner top once or twice, is taking Grasp of the Undying as well, so it does help out his laning a significant bit, but removes his Noom in the later end. You can sort of suffice it with a Righteous Glory later on, after you get potentially a different item. I'm curious to see if he'll even bother with the Trinity Force to have that kind of scrapping potential with Evi. A good flay from Enti's going to deny Gang from continuing that engage, as fourth shot's going to ring out there. But as it stands right now, it looks like Blank is full clearing his way back to the other side of the map here. Steel did get a late start, so he's actually a little bit behind the curve right now, as Blank seems to be getting the better end of the speed of this early pathing. But of course, Steel does have both smites available, so he will be holding smite for that crab that perhaps Blank is looking to get a little early info on, or potentially looking at this bot lane, looking a little bit tasty, as he's able to be first to this gank. Clear speed matters, and it's gonna matter for Enti. He's gonna go for the flash, gonna at least get the flay. Will the Deadly Flourish ring out? No, Gang's gonna sidestep that one. Blank maybe going for one auto too many. He's gonna be face checking Steel here. Now Sengoku are forced to take the fight here. You're going to have to try to get onto Gang if you can, but Blank's gonna be flashing away. Will he get to safety in time? As Steel's gonna flash forward, he's gonna find the first blood. Steel picking that one up. That was just the wrong direction out of that gank, as Blank wanted to path immediately back over to his chicken, and Chickens ended up getting caught out by Steel there and going down in the end. So we'll watch this one more time. It sort of puts Sengoku in an awkward position. I'm surprised Enti didn't go for Flash Flay right away. It's a little bit more mechanically intensive, but you little bit remove the time for Yutapon to be flashing. And then once the Deadly Flourish missed, you think, oh, play's over, don't need to worry about it anymore. And Blank, fortunately not able to sidestep his way to safety, ends up going down there. That's a great first blood to be picking up if you are DFM. Setting your Olaf ahead, giving him a little bit more influence on the map, which, like we mentioned, is going to be very important for keeping Evi safe throughout this early game. As the W came in a little bit too early, that's not the safe passage that you want. Ends up rooting both members there, but a good trade back from Yutoromeyashi is going to help out that. As now knowing this, you can see Steel already setting up shop on that bottom side, leaving a couple, just one friendly chicken, you know. Sharing is caring, although for the jungle, not exactly so much, as he will be keeping that camp from respawning. But Blank kind of is alright with this outcome, as it does give him more influence over towards the top end. It's a little bit risky to be showing up there, as at this point, Steel can absolutely just duel you down, and it's very hard to kite away from him. But so long as Blank is able to keep tabs on this top side, potentially plays to be looking at once Ompim crests into that level 6. Fortunately for Yutoromeyashi in the bot lane, he does have a slight CS advantage, and we'll see what he's able to retain from that, as Yutapon is picking up the wave, while his team will be securing first Drake here. And Ocean Drake, not a bad one to have, especially playing into something like a Jin Zoe. A little extra healing never hurts to have in your back pocket. Does mean no Ocean Soul on the Rift for today. Does offer potential play routes in the future. Now, Rift Herald is actually one of the points that I've criticized Sengoku for before, as just dedicating a few too many objectives towards that Rift Herald. So I'm very curious to see what they're going to do now that DFM has sort of put them on a little bit of a back foot, almost about 1,000 gold ahead at the end of those few plays, as well as Ompim not exactly getting the best of the CS in the top lane. Blank here for a counter gank, gets dragged in by the death sentence. Gang has flash, so he's gonna opt to continue for this play for now. That's going to be the stand divided, saving his support there, as the kill is gonna come across. Evi teleporting on in from the top side to help that play out. And that's the kind of confidence you can go for when you have the comp that DFM has. Stretching their lead just a little bit further. Sengoku at a little bit of a loss right now. As Opperman will at least be able to burn this wave to turret and grab a turret plate for him. I can't imagine that this Skarner is getting the value out of top lane that you're looking for. Still early on, of course, so there is still plenty of time for that to happen, but to be down at 3 CS and just have Evi running at you right away. Gonna deal half of your HP just from walking back into lane, as a good turret from Saros is actually gonna save him there. Experian's gonna go collect his blue buff here. And this might have been just a little bit of DFM finding a little bit of workarounds in the drafts, where a lot of DFM's comp doesn't exactly mind what you have. We did see Sengoku hover Ornn earlier on, and instead of drafting that hard engage option that offers a little bit of range to the side of Sengoku, you did opt in for the Grays and flexing the Skarner out of the jungle. So curious to see what we're able to make of it a little bit later down the line, as DFM are going to be grabbing up this Rift Herald fairly uncontested. No real motions that Sengoku can make other than just clearing out a bit of the vision. Enti's wandering up here, thinking about going for the blue buff. No jungler anywhere near, so this should be fairly a free take. Although it does feel like a glancing blow to DFM's current state of the game. As Opperman's even having a hard time laning up here. It just feels like he's getting chunked out to half HP at any given point. The other thing that is sort of a detriment to Skarner in lane is that he doesn't have advantage of his spires that he would otherwise get, giving him attack speed and a little bit of sustainability in the jungle. Just doesn't quite occur in the top lane as much. But Gang thinking about going for a play here. He is level 6. Sees Enti. He's gonna go for the engage. Enti has flash, but does he have enough time? That's a long layer of CC for him, as Enti's gonna flay away, but not away to safety, as that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. You can drag him under turret, but Evi's already got Merc Treads from getting that kill earlier in the game. He's not exactly a target you can CC for very long. Perhaps Period can make something work here, as Blank's going to be heading in here. Smokescreen goes down. Zeros is going to flash. Will the shield be enough to stand divided? We'll keep them united. As Sengoku are just going to be denied another play, and this was sort of the exact thing that we talked about with DFM's comp, is it's just a hard comp to try and engage on. This is not a comp you just get to force your will upon. This is a defensive-oriented comp outside of the Olaf. Sure, congrats, you baited out the Olaf with your Skarner, but was it worth it now that the rest of your map can't seem to really get anything done in the face of this Shen? All the while, Steel is just retaining a stiff gold advantage throughout most of this game. As Steel is going to try and just help escort waves into the mid lane. Saros happy to be picking up a couple turret plates, and we'll get a few more with that Rift Herald, as Cloud Drake is going to be picked up here. Again, it should be something that Sengoku cannot answer to, but now you're staring down the barrel of first 2 Drakes to DFM with either a Mountain or an Infernal Soul on the Rift, and both of them just are absolutely outstanding for DFM. A Mountain Soul, oh, there it is. I was going to say, I feel like Mountain Soul would be the more impactful of the two, as just all the extra defensive stats, an extra 200 HP shield just to make sure that the poke from DFM doesn't stick. That's a hard ask for DFM to try and battle past, excuse me. As Yutomi Eshi is just having to battle his way back into this lane, afraid of getting dove under turret along the way. Now, of course, there is still catch potential on the side of Sengoku. If you could find a member alone, you will have the stand united coming in. but it is still there. There is still option for that. Speaking of options, Steel is considering his options in the spot lane here. Is Opperman getting a little scrapped in the top side? Blank knows he's here, and the rest of the team is coming, but is this a team you really want to be fighting into? Highlander hasn't been popped yet, but still has it on deck. Gonna be popping it there, but Pyrian gonna be finding that kill before it's over. Gang over the wall here might be able to get to safety, as that will be the kill found out. A little bit too greedy there, Steel, as even the flash over the wall won't save you. Pyrian gonna be picking up that kill. A strong member to be giving that over to, for sure. And hopefully a little bit of reinvigorated confidence for the side of Sengoku. And with no sweeper up, this was just a little bit too greedy from Steel. Not respecting that the bot lane had already disappeared from vision. Still goes for it anyway. And once you see Pyrian even make a move out of his mid lane, you should know that that is no longer safe to be standing in. And fortunately for Steel, that will mean his death, and that will mean giving his previous advantage now over to Pyrian in the mid lane. Which he'll definitely need to be making use of it to start digging themselves back out, but a good stride to find so far, as at least for now, Blank has sort of reeled the jungle gold and EXP back into his favor, having about a half-level lead, and a few camps up is definitely considerable, but thinking about going for this ward, you're gonna eat a little bit of damage for it, but suppose you're not exactly in kill threat anytime soon. It's a little bit of continued scrapping in the top lane. At this point, most of the scrapping is done. I don't imagine Opperman is building that Sapphire Crystal into a Trinity Force. I can't imagine that's the play. That being said, prove me wrong, Opperman. Let's see some scraps. I know he's a big fan of his fighting, so is certainly an option on the table. But right now, Rift Herald on the menu for DFM, as the paddle stars eating a lot of poke back from the Heimerdinger W's and the throwing axes from Olaf here. Is NT a little bit bold to be walking up this far. Stand United is online, so Evi doesn't even need to leave just yet, but Ceros gonna be popping out and popping back in with the teleport. Another sleep is gonna be landed. It's gonna be a little bit of damage onto Steel. Doesn't quite go down. Pyrian losing a little bit of HP. At this point, it's very difficult for Pyrian to try and commit to a fight anymore. You can poke and prod all you want, but like 2 more axes and he just goes down, or at least he runs the risk of getting flashed on. And knowing that, DFM are going to be starting up this Rift Herald, while Sengoku are going to trade that for a little bit of priority vision around this Drake. Great time to have priority vision on the Drake. You definitely want, with the comp that Sengoku has, you want DFM to be coming into you. You want to be just slinging spells and making their life hard on their way in. The unfortunate part is that DFM can drop this in the mid lane and will likely be going down, or at least force responses from Sengoku. While Pyrian is hanging out in the mid lane for now. Yeah, I think one charge ought to do it, and DFM knowing that, spawning that one up and immediately rotating down and over. Pyrian doing what he can to stop this before it happens, but that's just going to be turret down. It's going to give them enough priority over to this Drake. Right now, DFM playing by the book. That's going to be a fine there. A little bit of damage over. The bouncing grenade from Ceros. Not quite going to find its mark, but that's an ulti down. Which honestly was just a little bit greedy from Blank, trying to go for his chickens there, but we'll see if they even commit to the fight thereafter. You already have Blank on low HP. He does have Flash, and he's absolutely willing to die for this if he has to, but that's going to be a huge solar flare, as that's going to be the Zenith Blade flying him on in. That's going to be 1. That's almost going to be 2, but Blank's going to be able to flash to safety. As Pyrian's going to find one! Beautiful snipe over there. The Paddle Star going to be flying in, knocking down Steel. Not going to get the Drake to boot, but A kill's a kill. That's 2 extra stacks on your Dark Seal for you. Yutapon almost finds a W over the wall. Finds a sleep in return. Will Pyrion be able to get that damage? Oh. Hi, did we mention Zoe does a lot of damage? Because that hurts. Of course, what hurt a little bit more for Sengoku was this Solar Flare. Teleport comes in, immediately taunted out. That was just a little bit, just too close to the Shen there. And the Solar Flare finds so many members. DFM just pick apart that fight in both ways you need to. Cancel the teleport in from the top laner. A good ulti engage from the Leona. You can't ask for much more. You might be able to ask for Steel not giving his life away to getting paddle starred, but so goes it when you're playing into Pyrion Zoe. So perhaps a hard ask for DFM, but still retaining an advantage for now. 1,000 gold, soul point. Both Rift Heralds in your possession. You're feeling pretty good about this kind of a game. As of course, we likely are in for a little bit while longer of a lull state, while Sengoku really needs to just kind of clear away what vision they can. They have to kind of tread lightly, but they don't have a big gun to be doing that with, as right now they're just a little bit behind on the AD position. Jin not quite online. Fortunately for Jin is that he does scale fairly well, does not do the best into tanks, so dealing with Evi and Steel to some degree is going to be quite difficult. That being said, he can start one-shotting turrets. Bouncing grenades is a great way if Sarah sets them up a little bit too close. But then one deadly flourish, and then you get that first crit auto. You start stacking that move speed. Easily is an option to start dancing around a couple of these fights and making Evi landing taunts, Steel landing axes a lot more difficult. So we'll see what he's able to make of this pick here, as Pyrion's doing everything in his power to clear out the waves as they come in. One of the most annoying parts about laning into Heimerdinger is that W, that fan of missiles, which even, we'll hold that thought as Enti's going to find a hook here. So Highlader's still available. So again, not the target you want to be CCing, but Curtain Call is going to be calling for Steel. He's still just waiting on the ult. He does not need to be popping anytime soon. Only pops it when he sees the Skarner rearing his head, as was intention all along, but gets himself to safety in the end. What I was going to mention about Heimerdinger specifically is that W missile spread. If only one of the rockets lands, it does do 55% of the overall spell damage. So you don't even need to be hitting the entire thing. You can fan that across the wave. It gives you such big pushing power against a champion like Zoe. And right now, that's what DFM's mid and top have in spades. Just the ability to shove in lanes, make you have to deal with them while they go do other things. And you can already see Evi doing just that, clearing away a bit of the vision on that Dragon Pit. With a minute on the clock, you know that's where DFM's sights are set. Mountain Drake that broke the camel's back is likely what we're going to be seeing here if Sengoku decide that they need to risk it all. Of course, they can't risk the same thing happening to Blank once again. Just barely shouldn't have flash for this fight, and that means he's not going to be able to get in for any last-minute steals. It's going to be everything on the line. You need to just beat out DFM here if you want a steal opportunity. Just the amount of teleport advantage on DFM's side, though, make that so difficult for Sengoku. So you can poke and prod spells into the mid lane all you want. Saros is going to be teleporting into the mid lane now. Wants to be here on time for this Drake. Don't want to miss your appointment, as Not going to be missing that paddle star, but the W from Yutorime, or from Utapon is going to be huge there to find out NT. That's going to be one down. Opperman trying to do what he can to tank. He's dragging members in. The curtain call is going to find one, but it's going to cost his life in the end. Yutorime actually looking for more in this fight, trying to find his way forward, but the Zenith Blade finds him instead, as Utapon's trying to do his best to just dish out the damage, but right now, his team is just a little bit too low. You have heals on deck, but right now, will it be enough? Sengoku prodding forward. In terms of man count, Sengoku are not coming out better, but in terms of HP, Pyrion still ready to fight this one out. Jungler down on the side of DFM means that if they want to start this one up, Sengoku can make it risky. Teleport coming in, that's going to be Evi now, and that could drive a huge divide in this one, as Sengoku are just looking for their way around the pit here. Another teleport. Opperman's now going to be coming into the fray. Looks like the Drake might be deterring for now on the side of DFM. You can hand over a Mountain Drake. It's not worth your lives, but it might be worth the fight if Utapon can find another W here. Pyrion doing what he can to find his way forward with those spells. Steel gonna get found with a sleep here. Highlander's almost back off cooldown, but not quite soon enough for that one. The bouncing grenade's not gonna find Opperman. Pulls him in, but that's a safe route. You're on your side of the map. You don't need to be worrying here. Drake going to be resetting, say he's had enough of the action, wants to get back to about 4k HP, which will just mean more damage that you can't dedicate to the enemies has to go into the Drake, and both teams know it. Plank or Sengoku are gonna risk it all here. They're just teeter-tottering. Which team will make the first move? As the teleport's gonna be coming right back. Pyrion saying, I need a little bit more mana before we continue on this one. Opperman almost has ult again for this fight. We've almost seen cooldowns just return as curtain calls coming back up as well. Poking and prodding Sengoku are just pushing the envelope on what DFM are willing to risk for this one. That's going to be Solar Flare down, but Sengoku still can't quite make a move. Just poking in with spells for now. This is a fine situation for Sengoku. Of course, Yutorime actually running low on mana is a bit of an issue. But who will run out of mana first? The backed Pyrion or Utapon having those heals. He does have murder mana, so it's a little bit of an issue. All right. One of you needs to make a move. I'm sick of this. Who's it gonna be? Throw the first punch. Is Blank's first punch gonna be dishing out for a red buff? He's now just gonna be found out here, as that W is gonna seal his fate there. Blank's not gonna be able to flash to safety, and the rest of the team is not gonna be able to save him. That was about a minute and a half of posturing for Blank to just throw his life away on a red buff. But now they can't quite finish off the Drake as well. Sengoku are just trying to make it as difficult as possible. You might as well stall because you can't. It's going to be a lot harder once Mountain Drake is decided. But with that ulti turret going down here, Mountain Soul is secured by the side of DFM. I don't even want to call that a river fight. I want to call that a river war. That was the Cold War embodied in the river, where neither team wants to make a move. Neither team wants to be the first one out there. But then Blank off in space is what decides the game. I have to call it like I see it. That was a huge throw from Blank to just greed out for a simple red buff. And then holding his flash as long as he did. Was the red buff what was going to make the difference there? I highly doubt it. But it ended up making the difference for DFM, as they were able to secure the Mountain Soul off of that, and about a 3k gold lead for themselves after they grab up that last turret there of the tier 1 variety. And now, of course, Sengoku just made their job detail a little bit harder, and right now DFM know it. Might even be looking at Baron just to try and force the issue. Although, considering how they looked around that last objective, I imagine everyone's still a little shaky in the knees. And right now, of course, the issue is still for Sengoku to try and find their way forward here. Zenith Blade, of course, is going to be the same thing that starts as... Oh, no, Blank! Found out by the W, almost kills his AD in tow as Opperman is just not a tank. That is a Skarner. That is not your hyper tank. He cannot be frontlining that many members, not even getting his ulti off in time. And DFM are going to be able to grab up the Drake. This is the Baron, excuse me. This is looking like map 1 going to DFM, unless Period has anything to say about it. Trying to find his way forward. Curtain Call is going to be just throwing out damage. Ultimately, this is not a whole lot you can really depend on, as Udapon's just going to be healing back up so quickly. Q after Q is going to be all that's needed. Evi's just in the face of NT. What can he really do at this point? This is just too tanky of a Shen to try and knock down anymore. That's going to be Baron to DFM, and I'll never say a game is over until it's over, of course. But that being said, as it stands, DFM are looking to put a nail in this one, sign the check over to DFM as... Oh, Blank. This has to be just... I want to say it must feel like turning nerves, as Blank is easily a jungler that should not be having this kind of a performance. But unfortunately for him, it just seems to be the case, as now they're going to have to be pushing past Baron, finding their way in. And we already talked earlier about how fast these lanes can be pushed by the side of DFM. Yeah, NT, nobody on either side really rotated because they all knew as the teleport's going to be coming in. That's going to be Opperman most likely just going down for his shenaniganery on the other end of the map. The Dark Passage is going to be giving him a safe voyage back to their side of the map, but he did force out a teleport. Of course, points to Sengoku in that department. Hook onto Evi. But like we mentioned, Jin is not a tank slayer in any capacity, so tickling Evi with 2 Mountain Drakes and Mountain Soul. That shield already back up in his department. Pyrian's just going to be going down here. It was a matter of time, Pyrian, before you found your death in this game. And right now, DFM have found their fight won. Opperman is here to try and make it work. Saris is going fairly low, but I don't think Sengoku has any way to get reliable damage onto him. As right now, DFM are just continuing to march their way forward. Saris should be coming back off of a teleport anytime soon. And this could be game end here. They're pushing in. Nexus turrets are under fire. Evi's going to be throwing out the dash there, trying to find Opperman, just trying to find something to just blow the rest of this game open. But right now, DFM are the ones with the forward rolling momentum. Opperman almost goes down there after eating a stray stun, and right now Sengoku just don't have anything left in the tank. DFM are going to be taking game 1. What a game to behold, and honestly, this was a game that I think tells the tale of just a similar tale to what we always tend to see coming out from DFM. So many of their lanes are just very dominant, and you need to respect that. If you aren't going to play things that can stand toe-to-toe in lane with the members of DFM, you get steamrolled. And that's exactly what we saw here today. I think DFM were in firm control. I like that Sengoku tried to stay poised. I think they had the right amount of reserve. But I don't like to pin it off on one player. I don't want to pin it all on Blank. But hopefully he can get his head in this one, as that was just the straw that broke the camel's back. We'll, of course, have more games in stow, so rallying back for this one, Sengoku. We'll see if they have any fighting spirit left in them, or if DFM are going to be looking at their finals return. Don't go anywhere. If you guys are enjoying the stream, feel free to drop a follow. I am Dr. No. I do all of the LJL English broadcasting. I do all other games as well. I do Valorant, I do League of Legends, I do Melee, I do fighting games like Tekken, Street Fighter, anything you could possibly want, I can offer for you. If you guys do enjoy my commentary, I do really appreciate you guys tuning in. Gonna be taking a quick break, refilling on water, staying hydrated. If you guys are enjoying, of course, just stay tuned. We'll be back here shortly, but go ahead and grab yourself a snack, stretch your legs. We might be in for a long one. Thank you all again for tuning in. Be back shortly.
official drink partner. Passion, respect, pride, energy. All for the team. All for the win. All for the dream. Give it all. Aito! Ippa!
出前館出前がスイスイスイ熱々熱々届くよ出前がスイスイスイ出前館出前がスイスイと出前館で検索
日清うま辛豚骨うま辛豚骨新発売辛い味今流行日本中人気豚骨うま辛ラー油やみつき豚骨も時間じ白いりごまネギ赤唐辛子キコラが豚ミンチ間違いない味うま辛豚骨のルマヨたら全部かえ間違いない味うま辛豚骨のルマヨたら全部かえヘイ日清
ポイントちんちゃん大丈夫？何この競技？
マイナポイントなら auPay がお得 au ショップへ
これどういうルールなの？ルール？
特にないよ
24時間働いてまくれ。替えはいくらでもいる。
ちょっと待ってください。
なんだお前は。
もっと現場のことを考えていただきたい。
お前らは俺の言うことを聞いていればいいんだ。
でも社長でいられると思うなよ。
何？
社長解任に賛成の方ご起立ください。ご起立ください。立って。
一度座ったら立ちたくない
立つって言ってたでしょ。
AK レーシング
Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Dr. NoCast, the LJL English broadcast of the Summer Split playoffs. One game behind us already, and DFM have taken game one in a manner I would almost want to say is sort of a recurring theme for DFM so far in these past few matches, ever since about week 7 even, where it feels expected. You know, it almost feels like maybe we're starting to see them return to the form that we know them as. And these wins don't come as a shock to us because DFM is the team that we've known them as. DFM is a titan, and if they're starting to come back into form, it couldn't have come at a better time. So definitely things to be worked out on the side of Sengoku, but for DFM, train schedule seems to be running as normal. We'll see if Sengoku have what it takes to try and bounce back from this one. As we do look at the post-game breakdown, it was a slow fall. It was a slow just decline until it was all of a sudden very rapid, and suddenly we lost Seoul. Of course, I don't ever want to call out one misplay as the reason everything went wrong. Of course, a ton of things could have gone differently. Even starting in draft, a B1 pickup of a Skarner when set was just readily available and would have done everything that the Skarner did that game, but better. I'm hard-pressed to answer how we ended up with a Skarner in the top lane of all things. If it was to bait out the Olaf from the side of Detonation Focus Me and then give Pyrian his Graves, it didn't seem to impress. There was no interactions between the two junglers other than Blank having a slight farm lead that he had to overcome after dying off of the initial gank that even in that first gank, I honestly felt like Sengoku could have committed a lot harder onto. All of that being said, of course, I don't think... this is one of those moments where when I look at Blank, I really hope that somebody gave him a pep talk in the in between and kind of helped him keep his head on his shoulders, because that was a game that can be very demoralizing when you're talking about, you know, your playoff life is on the line here. You're worrying about going to Worlds. You just came off one loss, and you know that this loss is the one that can send you home. Things like that add up. They weigh down on your conscience. And when you have a couple key mistakes that I'm not going to pin 100% onto Blank, but I do have to look at Blank critically and call him out for where he's done wrong. I've been critical of DFM before because they're a team that gives results. They're a team that has been consistent up until this point. Well, up until regular split. We'll call them a little bit more consistent now, I suppose. But if we're going to be as critical of DFM as we have been, we have to do the same for Sengoku. It does look like we are going for the side swap here, which I have to say is a touch interesting to see coming about for Sengoku, giving DFM the side that they are stronger on. Oh, excuse me, this is not... Hold on, I lost my stream there for a second. There we go. But this has to be... hopefully Sengoku has a couple other draft predictions, or at least just draft options still in their kit. Maybe they just wanted it on a red side. Maybe the Skarner works out better on red side. Far be it from me to know, as it was the first Skarner picked in the LJL, and currently now holding a 0% win rate as DFM eyeing up the Senna once more. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And DFM are going to be drafting that pick up for themselves. Now, Sengoku, of course, has a couple of options still on the table. Jin, if you would like it, for Torumeyashi in the bot lane. He did perform on the champion. It's a little bit risky. Ooh. Now, the Lilia is actually quite exciting, as it looks like the Jin will be locked in alongside it. Quick note on the Jin is, I was going to mention that I'm not a huge fan of Jin coming in this early. It could easily be an R3 now that Senna's already being locked in, and you remove the interest in DFM just picking a couple tanks that become hard for Jin to deal with. Also tanks that benefit, or that DFM benefit from by being able to heal them up with a Senna, but that point aside, I'm very curious to see what the Lilia is going to do. It's a blind picked Lilia, which we have seen before. Nothing wrong with a blind picked Lilia. But in the V3 Sengoku series, Sengoku was not one to be playing the Lilia. V3 got it almost all of their winning games. I think they got it the first 3 games in a row, and were able to pilot it to fair success until Sengoku felt the need to ban it. Now, in these 2 weeks, Blank thinking that he's picked up the Lilia in time. Perhaps we'll see some things coming about from it. I would like to see more Lilia in the LJL. I've talked before about how I think that Lilia in solo queue can be a little bit worse for wears, but in terms of pro play, where you can set up sleeps very well, it offers the same kind of position as a Zoe, where you're just throwing out that whirling seed. You don't need to hit anything. You're just kind of probing. If it does, pop that R button. That's the longest range sleep CC you will see. Say that 3 times fast, but DFM looking for a fast run back on their old comp, drafting up a little bit of a mirror, as Pyrian is going to get himself a Zir in the mid lane. So a lot of magic damage coming out already on the side of Sengoku, as the Olaf is going to be banned away, which only raises my questions more about why Sengoku were adamant that they needed to get DFM onto an Olaf. But there are a couple other picks I would still like to see taken away from the side of DFM. Morgana is a great ban. Not sure if NT has played or Morgana this season, but definitely Morgana, just throw out 1 stray binding. That can easily be a way for this fight to get blown open before it begins. Hecarim is also going to be taken off the table. Hecarim is not a terrible champion to take off, especially if DFM were planning to draft it alongside a Shen once more, and they were just looking to run back that same thing, replace a Hecarim, or replace Olaf with a Hecarim. Would be the worst option in the world, but the Hecarim ban seems a little bit out there to me, as Hecarim does not exactly synergize very well with Heimerdinger or Senna. You'd easily be running past their ranges and dividing the fight in a very awkward direction that's sometimes hard for Heimerdinger to get damage to 2 ends of the fight, as well as Evi not being able to influence both ends. But Nidalee, a fair pickup for Steel. Still gives him a lot of aggressive options. Can be difficult into Lilia, as Shen is going to be locked in here once again. The blind pick Shen. Look, Opperman, if you think you can run it back, run it back. That said, though, Opperman was down about like 20 CS until Shen teleported out of the lane and was able to come back. This time around, though, he will have Gnar on the table, so I know an analyst that is always going to be happy every time a Gnar appears on screen, but Gnar to Shen is definitely a lot more doable, a lot more bully potential for Opperman in the top side of things. The jungle matchup can be very iffy. If a spear is landed, you get the empowered W range from Nidalee, and then that means a guaranteed Q. That's almost enough to one-shot Lilia in most scenarios. That said, though, what makes it harder to land your first spear than a Lilia with 5 stacks of move speed, just dashing, zip, zop, and zooping around? That being said, I am a huge Lilia fan. I think the champion is absolutely adorable. But it's going to take more than looks for Sengoku to be pulling this one out, as they're going to need to kind of just wrap their head around what their overall game plan is. A great team fighting comp overall from Sengoku. A little bit iffy on engages. NT kind of has to walk pretty far into Heimer territory, and once he throws out the depth charge, it's very telegraphed for Seros to just know that he can, okay, time to throw down my big turret, time to throw a bouncing grenade, whichever of the two ultimate abilities he decides to throw out, he'll have that option on deck, and enough time telegraphed to him to know when he needs to be throwing it. That said, Nidalee doesn't exactly do the best at counter-engaging and can easily just get battered back by the Azir wall when trying to go in. The one matchup that I am a little bit worried about, again, is this bot lane. It's sort of a run back, although Thresh even offers less defensive capabilities. With a lane that was already kind of struggling for Sengoku. Wasn't a terrible struggle, and of course you could chalk it up to First Blood being influenced on that bottom side, you know, kind of getting them ahead in that aspect, and then having to respect Olaf for so long. That small decision definitely snowballed a little bit of negativity, or a little bit of positive econ on the bot lane of DFM, but perhaps Sengoku feel confident that without that First Blood, things can go a little bit different, and they're going to need to prove that if they want to have a chance in this game here. Definitely room for improvement on Sengoku's side of things, but DFM, right now, staying the course is all you need to really be worrying about. I think one of the other interesting points with these two lineups, and with Lilia specifically kind of poising into the lineup, is that sort of suffers from the same thing we were talking about of once the sleep is on, it's fairly telegraphed, and Seros, you'll see, even if it's on Seros on Heimerdinger, he can see it long enough before to just throw down the turret. Is if any stray CC hits Lilia, she goes down, but we'll check on that in the game. And as we take a look across all the runes here, everything is fairly what you'd expect, except for blank, where you get a little add-on to that sentence that says, in solo queue, as Dark Harvest on Lilia is the most common solo queue rune, but in LPL and in other regions, like LCK, Lilia has been showing up with Phase Rush, and it can feel somewhat redundant to have that extra move speed, because you're more than likely hitting moves, like, relative move speed cap anyway. But that being said, it does give you slow resistances, and that can be very huge when you're trying to dodge out on a couple of spells, when you get clipped by the grenade from Seros. So this invade's a little bit risky, as the W's gonna find one. Double flash over the wall, that's two, as Dredge the Line will find his way to the other side of that river, as Evi, of course, does have to burn his teleport to get up to the top side, so there is the benefit there that you burn that. It's a teleport for 2 flashes, though, and that felt like a random, uncalculated invade on the side of Sengoku, where they invade, they clear away one ward, they don't even bother checking if the bot lane is at the river, at the red buff, which tells me you don't want to fight right now. Totally fine to not want to fight right now, but why are you taking an invade onto chickens on the expected side for Steel to be starting? Sengoku is definitely raising a couple eyebrows with some of these plays, and I mean, a good hook there, you do have level 2 advantage, so that's just a good trade over on the gang. Their laning seems fine in isolation. It really is feeling like right now Sengoku are struggling to get things going. Where every time they want to start a play, they're either not checking all their corners, they're just wildly running into things, or just putting themselves in harm's way for no reason. So hopefully they'll be able to kind of bring it back. Blank, of course, doing an excellent job of just trying to get what CS advantages he can in the jungle. And being fairly consistent at it, should be able to get first crab. Here is Gang looking for a crit shot. Takes a ton of damage for that. You cannot just ignore Yutapon to go get that auto attack off. Learns that firsthand, but meanwhile, Pyrion getting the better end of a couple trades in the mid lane. So evening it out best he can. This vision cone should be hit towards the river there. Blanket spotted on his way in. They know he's here, and he is flashless. Gonna be going down here. First blood once again over to Steel in the jungle. And once again, I'm starting to feel like Sengoku are just falling apart here. And Blank, I'm not even entirely sure what he was going for. As Pyrion should be able to get to safety. Might tank a spear on his way out, but that's going to be a Hex Flash in. Good counter hook from Anti to keep Yutapon away. We'll take up most of the damage for his AD there. Does end up burning Cleanse, though, from Yutoromeyash, so now Sengoku looking for an opportunity to trade a little bit back. Dark Harvest proc acquired, but here comes the teleport. Seros possibly looking for something. They're going to have Evi on the flank here, so now Sengoku, you chose this fight. You made your bed. Now you got to lie in it as Blank is trying to find his way out here. Will have a little bit of extra move speed. Evi might be going down if Opperman's able to finish him off. He is going to flash in for that auto. Now trying to go toe-to-toe with Steel. Nowhere close to Mega, so he will need to dodge a spear. Not quite. Steel's going to be able to land that one from over the wall. Make that a 1-for-1 in the end. Does cost Opperman his flash and his life, but he picks up a kill, and Steel finds another one to add to his 2-0 scoreline for now. And now, maybe, you know what, maybe it's Steel's turn to int a little bit, as he will kind of get found out here. Ooh, misses that Q, so movement speed will be falling off. Pyrion's trying to commit for this fight. Goes in for it, but doesn't quite finish. The E, Whirling Sea, is going to splash a little damage over there onto the jungler. Help that turn into a 1-for-1. So, okay, so we'll watch this one more time. And one thing that I'm now immediately going to be trying to keep my eye out for is Sengoku taking fights that they don't want to commit to. Because this is the second on the replay here, and then the third immediately following it. This game, it just feels like every fight that Sengoku kind of opt into, not everyone feels confident in going for. They kind of go for in disconnected instances. Or they kind of like go forward and then just and then double back a little bit. I don't really know. It's just this awkward indecisiveness that seems to be Sengoku's undoing. As Steel, I think this was just a little bit too greedy from him. He's feeling himself a little bit too hard. Trying to go for both the scuttle and the chickens there. Pyrion tries to get the kill on, but just barely heals out of range, and Seros forced to flash over the wall there. The Evi is making a great use of the Shen in the top side. It's down a little bit of CS, but these trades that he's been getting off have actually been very well played so far. And in the end of it all, I would really like to see Sengoku with a little bit more confidence in their play, as it just feels like every time they go for a play that they don't feel 100% on, they're leaving someone hung out to dry. And so far, they've been trading it 1-for-1s. But the last game didn't go this well, and if your 3-2 is the best start to a game you've had, doesn't bode well for the rest of this one, as Drake is going to be going over to DFM. uncontested as Ocean Drake is first on once again. So no Ocean Soul going to be hitting its way onto the Rift here.
まあかなり最初に戻るんですけれども、まあ、2台がボットサイドフルクリアからボットラインに向かったので
And with Rift Herald up, a little bit of vision from it by DFM. Blank can go clear this out, but I don't think it's one that he can just start up. He will whack it right away. He looks like he wants to commit for it. Fresh off a back, DFM's bot lane are a-coming, and Sengoku's bot lane should be here first, but it'll be up to Steel and Seros to try and stall out for time. Whirling Seed not quite going to find its way in. They can't even clear the pink wards that are up for now. Henty holding his ground, steps onto a trap, but isn't in any immediate risk. Now Gang is here trying to lead the charge. The smite should go down. That's going to be one gone. Deadly Flourish lands on the Gang. Should have delayed the engage for now. As a Curtain Call only going to slow them so much, but it looks like Henty's going to be dropping his life for that one. As Opperman should be able to get to safety. A life traded for a Rift Herald. I mean, it is a support, so it's not the worst trade in the world, but it's sort of what I've been talking about, where Sengoku, everything that they seem to go for always ends up costing a member. They just don't have the confidence to take the fight, but put themselves in the situation that they almost need to every time until they just say, unfortunately, you drew the shortest straw this round. You have to go into the Baron pit and take, sacrifice yourself, NT. Sorry, bud. Of course, you can flash over the wall, but you only have so many flashes in such a given amount of time, so. We'll see what Sengoku are able to make of the rest of this game, as they're not too far behind right now. You can kind of they can definitely hold their ground where they are. Just if the rest of this game, if the rest of these, 10 minutes go without a kill, that's happiness for Sengoku, as you definitely have a lot of scaling options between Pyrian and Yutone Maesh, as well as what the Lilia sleep means later into the game, because one member being slept is almost always going to be a kill later on. Any of the members of DFM cannot afford to get slept. Evi maybe. But even then, just the pick potential on the side of Sengoku is really what they're going to be falling back on. The question mark that comes into my mind is, will you have the confidence to be going for that sort of thing? As right now, it looks like DFM are the ones with confidence, thinking about a dive opportunity. Good sidestep on that one. Good sidestep on the Solar Flare, as he will get rooted up. Finally gonna go down there. Empty. Flashes away. I don't know if that's a safe path to go, my friend. As the rest of DFM are trying to chase him down. That's 5 people in the bot lane. Pyrian's gonna spawn up the Rift Herald here. It's gonna be at least a couple turret plates. Will they be able to punish him all the way through? Pyrian's gonna be tanking turret. As Blank's gonna flash forward, should be able to get that one and get out. Very low HP, however. He might just take the opportunity to back right here. Will find Gang and ends up sacrificing himself just a little bit too early. And now Pyrian's kind of caught in an awkward spot. He should be executed, I do believe. Yeah, Pyrian is gonna be not given over any kills, but once again, why does everything Sengoku have to go for come off of the back of sacrificing members? You do not owe DFM any blood sacrifices. Well, watch this bot lane play one more time. Yutone actually does everything he can to just try and dodge out on this one, but this is 5 people all in the bot lane. Cleanse whatever layer of the CC that hit ya, it's not gonna matter. But then somehow Sengoku lose more members on this play in the mid lane than they lost on the 5-man dive to the bot lane. Great sidestep there from Pyrian, actually on that spear to not give the kill over to the jungler there, but right now Sengoku just trying to do their best to keep afloat and maintaining at least even gold on both sides despite the scoreline being 6-3. Potentially something that Sengoku can be looking to fall back on, and splitting up the Drakes as well, kind of trying to keep this one as dead even as they can. Although I would like somebody to mention to Sengoku that dead even does not entirely mean that one of your members has to be dead. They've racked up quite a number of deaths this early on between these past two games. And Opperman has the most gold in the top lane. Somewhat expected, as it's very easy for him to be getting CS leads in the top lane and getting turret plates, as Evi can't get close enough to apply bombies to the wave or his Tiamat all the time. Excuse me while I take a small sip there, but likely we are in for a little while of a lull state. So, on paper, I would look at this Rift Herald and I would say, yeah, this isn't really that needed. Turret plates are already gone. This isn't something that's entirely worth fighting over. But knowing Sengoku, I would not be surprised if they absolutely deem this worth fighting over. A couple backs are going to be coming out here. Vision control is firmly in the side of DFM, as it has been for most of the time on this top side. But right now, Blank has no camps up, so he can easily just head straight over towards it. As Steel is looking for a bit of information onto the enemy jungle here, waiting around mid lane. Cirrus is going to shove that one in so he can cross directly over. Blank already over onto this side. And it looks like DFM are reading that exactly as it comes, as the bot lane's already on their way up, stopping to clear a pink ward, but they are going to be moving on in there. Utotomesh is taking a back here, which he easily could just be shoving the wave and making Utapon miss out on that wave and getting himself a little bit more ahead. But taking the back and resetting means they likely want to take this fight. Will DFM be able to burn down the Drake before that happens? Opperman's Mega is also going to fall off unless he can find an R very, very quickly. That's not going to be that team fight option available, as Curtain Call is going to be the one that calls for the start of this one, as Steel should just be able to smite that one away. Now will you be able to pick up the Rift Herald? Yeah, I was going to say, Sengoku just let it go. This, ooh, Enti chunked out a little bit. The Dawning Shadow's actually going to kill. Enti just going to lose his life for it, and once again, everything feels like Sengoku just don't need to be losing members for this, but they constantly are. This wishy-washiness on all of their attempted fights has just gotten them flashes burned exactly like that on Lilia, deaths that just don't need to happen. Utotomesh easily could have just stretched his CS lead, shoved out the bot lane, got a couple, or just did a little damage to the turret, and called it a day. But now, you lose your support, you lose your jungler's flash, you weren't even close to contesting for the Rift Herald. Sengoku are looking like like they want to hand DFM a 3-0 here, unless they're going to start figuring out their team fights. The issue is that a team fight takes a lot of confidence and a lot of trust in your team, but right now Sengoku seems just vividly lacking of any trust in any of their team making plays. Cloud Soul is on for today. We do have 45 seconds on that spawn. And it's a little bit interesting. Both, I feel both have equal benefit from it. Maybe DFM slightly, as the Stand United is a fairly long cooldown, so getting a little extra CDR on that one is huge. Utapon can make use of that ultimate as well, and Gang, like we mentioned, is the primary engage option with that solar flare, so getting that on a lower CD always helps. Same thing for Sengoku though. Lilia's sleep is a fairly good cooldown to have up more often. Is actually fairly short at max rank, but getting it shorter means more picks, more options. This gang's gonna be going in here. Might be a little bit early. He's a little bit far from the rest of his team, but Blank's just gonna go down as the Stand United is gonna call in his top laner. The R's only gonna find one as Empty's gonna be going down as well. No AD anywhere near that fight.
さあデトネーションフォーカスミその瞬身後方エビのアルティメットを生かして集団戦をまずは勝ちました狙い通りでしたねゲン選手の両内しっかりと
And that's just gonna be Drake over to the side of DFM once again. It just I thought Gang was early on that one, but at the point they're at, he can just afford to do that. Yotora Mayashi's not even near his team right now. He's collecting a wave in the bot lane. And then how is he supposed to get into this fight other than Curtain Call? He would have to run through Steel and Utapon just to have influence here. And Birion rolls up to the fight after it's already over. You know it's... Oh, that was just a wasted sleep from Lilia as the teleport's going to come in. NT's going to be flashing over the wall. Almost gets followed by the Zenith Blade there. As a good sidestep from Blank's going to dodge out on that one. Will they be able to kite this one back in their favor? Opperman's looking for something. He's nowhere near Mega, but he has a great ult opportunity once he's there. Gang goes golden, dodges out on the shuffle from Pyrion. He will be going down in the end. NT looks for a great re-engage. The Deadly Flourish lands onto the jungler. 2 kills over to Sengoku. Maybe signs of life are coming out yet as they're going to battle their way back into that. Still a 2k gold, or it's about 1,500 gold advantage to overcome, but a great breath of life coming into Sengoku's lungs. So we'll watch this one more time from the top. Evi thinking about trying to loop around onto Pyrion. It looks like an opportunity onto him. Flashes away, shuffles his way out to safety, buys at least enough time to force out the ultimate. And then, not sure what it is about Steel and those chickens, but he just cannot resist poking his head over there. Doesn't go down for this, but does set up for a teleport to come in. And Sengoku to be able to turn this fight after a little fancy footwork coming out from Blank. And the rest of this fight was just clean from Sengoku. Once DFM already feel like they're routed, this was just Sengoku picking up the pieces. That fight doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me, though, as it came off the back of your mid laner got picked. It required Steel to get a little bit too greedy, just trying to throw spears into the jungle there. It cost you your support flash to get to safety, and then Blank had to sidestep a spell that if it hits him, he just dies. And it cost you a teleport from Opperman to be able to get into position to cut off the escapes. Replicatable? Sure. Guaranteed? Not exactly. As I'm hoping DFM are going to find, again, the name of the game is just confidence, and I don't feel like Sengoku exactly has that. Hopefully those 2 kills help you build yourself up. But right now, Sengoku need to puff out their chest. They need to speak with pride and power. Or it'll be DFM sending them silently into the night. As Utapon ends up eating a Whirling Seed. No sleep to be had just yet, though. Pyrion and Saros are just going to be following each other around the map, collecting waves, shoving them back and forth. Thus is the rules of League of Legends. You get your turn with the wave, I get mine, we all get our gold, and we all get damage items to kill each other later. And speaking of exactly that, Sengoku looking for an opportunity. Blank can absolutely go for a flash if he sees the time to do it. That is one of the other things that happens with Lilia, is almost reminiscent of when Galio could flash while channeling his taunt. A flash QR from Lilia is insanely hard to react to, and can CC so many members if you can catch DFM grouped up a bit. Opperman's gonna find the ulti onto Evi here. He should be going down. I mean, it will cost them Baron, but this is just a trade you have to take. You're already committing blank to this side of the map. Half HP on it. Pyrion can go in and disrupt it if he so chooses. But you can see the cavalry is a-coming. That's gonna be Baron dead. A great response from DFM. Just, you pull Blink to the other end of the map. DFM getting, showing Sengoku a little bit of an education in macro to be able to pull that one away. As Sengoku can collect their consolation prize of the Drake, Seros, sneaky man, waits around and might be able to shove in that top lane turret. He might even be able to grab it if Sengoku take too long around this Drake, but opts in for the Krugs instead. A little bit of a safer camp to try and take up there. And I'm curious to see if DFM can really make use of this Baron. It's somewhat difficult, as Pyrion can easily just be shredding waves. Yutori Ash also has two very key items for Jin, Storm Razor and RFC. So if he gets an auto range of somebody that's a slow, which could mean a Lilia spell, which could mean a sleep or an NT hook, that's the power of Jin, and that's definitely a power that Yutori Ashi loves to have. Where when he can set up for his team, when he can just offer that little bit of utility, it works wonders for him. Especially because Storm Razor kind of bleeds into itself with Jin, but hold that thought, Blank gonna sidestep a spear there. This could be a play they could go for, absolutely. DFM are kind of bold to be walking up this far by themselves. I'm actually surprised that Blank didn't just take the call to all in there, go for a Q flash. They easily could have burned them both down, but speaking of plays to go for, Seros almost just one-shot Pyrion. Did cost his ultimate to do it as a Dawning Shadow almost finds Pyrion. Will forces flash. Pyrion not caught in the shop just yet. So Opperman's looking for a little bit of solo action onto Evi here, trying to batter him down. Does have the frozen mallet, so it's so much harder for Evi to get in and out of auto range without E. Once it's expended, it just feels so miserable, but you know what feels more miserable? When you were having fun bullying a tank on the side lane, and then all of a sudden there's an AD here, there's a jungler here, and life's sad, but a little bit sadder for Seros in the top lane, as he ends up a sacrificial lamb for the death of Opperman on the other end of the map there. DFM do nab up a kill for a kill, though. Not a terrible Baron. You do end up getting the turret off of it, so Seros does at least pocket the gold that he was able to acquire. Costing his life, not ideal. But the show goes on. You're still looking at about a 3k gold advantage. We'll watch the play forming on the top side. Seros just saw them coming, but at the point he was already at, where was he supposed to go? Pyrion picks up that kill. Almost dies in the process. The Heimerdinger damage really starting to pay dividends as the Whirling Seed went on a little bit of a journey for that one. For all the Gen Z people around my age, I always think of that stupid ravioli commercial with a can that rolls all the way along. You all know the one. You all know exactly what one I'm talking about. But it's going to take a couple of those before it starts to add up for Sengoku. Or you're going to be needing to find it on the right members. to be able to pull the advantage into your favor, or at least find a good sleep, throwing one out there. The collective sidestep. Straight down the middle, as Blank is just going to be bowling for a little while longer before these next few objectives are up. Cloud Drake, you know, give it or take it. Neither team entirely needs the Cloud Soul, which is sort of a problem that feeds into itself that in the end I feel like would benefit Sengoku, where a lot of times having a scaling composition on a Cloud Soul can be very beneficial even if your team doesn't benefit from the Cloud Soul itself. Lower priority on the Drakes means that it will be taken later, which means you don't have to worry about teams that are trying to rush you down earlier have options to just grab an Elder Soul and try to end the game. But speaking of ending the game, NT's looking to do just that, throws his entire combo to Gang, who pops Stone Plate, gets out of that one. Blank going very low as Udapon is just trailing everyone down. The Glacial Augment putting in so much work as Pyrian should be able to escape there. Lands an E, lands a sleep. Gonna go for the curtain call to try and finish him off, but Evi should be able to tank this one up for his ADC. Not that he could see that, but he definitely almost got Udapon killed on that fourth shot. But it will mean that DFM can return to the Drake in safety. Pyrian does have teleport, so he can come back to this one. It's more a question of if Sengoku want to contest for it. Right now, it looks like they might just turn over to the Baron. Looks like they're gonna start it up here, and already on the way, DFM know that. They're gonna be charging into a lot of fog to get here. And Gang is gonna be the one leading the charge. Solar Flare is up and ready. Looks like he's gonna be letting that one fly with the Zenith Blade. The Dawning Shadow is gonna deal a lot of damage. Followed up by the missiles there. The spear landed on Pyrian, is going to be forcing him to dash away the safety. Sengoku are off the Baron. Will DFM's re-engage come in? Here it is, and a lot of damage on the Gang. He's not going to go down, but neither will Pyrian, as blinking HP bars are both going to be extinguished. While two down on the side of Sengoku, they are routed for their desperation, as Opperman now should be soon to fall after. Does not have a whole lot of escape options left available. Can stall for a short while at the very least, grabbing up a little bit of CS to just round out his buys on once he backs from death here. Funny enough, he actually could have teleported out for a little bit, but now he's just kind of dueling Opperman, the 1v4 monster, as he's trying just to fight for his life. He's just a boy. And unfortunately, that is just one dead Cave Yordle, as Gnar is just going to be put down there. But now Sengoku, of course, will watch one more time. This was just a desperation attempt. Sure, you know, you do have Azir. It does deal decent damage and can force an issue, but I'm surprised that Sengoku were not ready for a turn here. You knew that DFM was going to run straight over here once this was done, once they see you not contesting for that Drake. And it was sort of, it takes Pyrian teleporting in there before you can burn down the Drake, which means it takes the teleport to tip off DFM that, hey, we should run to that Baron. All of that being said, though, another opportunity presents itself, this time to Evi on a great flanking route. It's going to find Blank, but a little bit too far away from his team to get anything done. That's the best outcome for Sengoku in this time, and right now they need things going their way, as Gang's gonna find the Zenith Blade over onto him. Good dodge on the Solar Flare as Opperman leaps to safety. Now, can the re-engage come out from Sengoku? Not quite. A little bit too disconnected, a little bit too far. So they're spread out very far across the rift. Blank has opportunity. He's going to get engaged on. The bouncing grenade's going to find 3 members. That might have just been the fight that ends it all. NT's going to be going down there. Opperman throws out the ulti, but Curtain Call's just going to be dropped out here trying to keep the rest of his laners safe. Beautiful find from Saros as he's looking for a little bit more. Itonebayashi almost dives through the turret that got bounced over on a blast code. But it will mean that Baron goes uncontested over to the DFM side of things. And they can retain that pressure until the Cloud Soul is up. Right now, DFM sitting pretty with their current situation. And oh no. Oh, Pyrian. A manaless Pyrian might as well be a punching bag. As Unipon goes for a little bit of a kill steal there. Hey, when you're going to have 30% ult CDR, you might as well use it for the fun of it, as he has had a perfect game here so far. But eyes go to Saros here, who just found an amazing grenade to throw out here. Once everyone returns to the mid lane, things kind of reset to neutral. Blank just needs to be a little bit more careful. Like we mentioned, Lilia gets blown up by any bit of damage that touched her. So a grenade like that to find 3 members of Sengoku is an instant way to end that fight. But for now, DFM continuing their rampage here. Almost 6k gold in their pocket. Looking to make it difficult for Sengoku, as they know that Cloud is on the menu. They know they want towards it. So right now, Sengoku, if there was ever a time to team fight, well, I suppose it's not now. You can hand over a Cloud Soul. But if you do want to find a fight to win, you're going to need to do it soon, because Evi is a knocking on that bot lane door. As Evi just has all the time in the world. This is the advantage of a Shen, but now the grenade's already through. Enty's just going to go down before he can even pop his ultimate. Solar Flare onto the mid laner. That's going to be an ultimate forced out already, while Opperman's just going to get soloed by Evi on the other end of the map. This one is feeling like DFM may have just figured out Sengoku, as Opperman is just going to be off in no man's lands for a little while longer. Gang looking to head him off at the pass. Recognize the situation. Blank can be there, so they do back away. I think they caught him on his way onto the blue side there. But right now, with 40 seconds still on the Baron clock, you've already opened up the bot lane inhibitor. DFM can look for a double inhib here after getting Cloud Soul for free. Another bouncing grenade goes out. This time NT sidesteps that one, but ultimately with how much damage he just takes, you wonder how long he can even stand in the front lines there. Goes forward there. Blank looking for a sleep on any meaningful target, but it's only landing onto Gang right now. He has flash. Blank, if you're ever looking for an opportunity, you're gonna need to find it soon, but as it stands, DFM are just running away to safety. Still biding their time. This is a game that Sengoku can look to try and drag out. Blank, we want to talk about that. Turrets are scary. Many things are scary to Lilia, both in lore and in her ultimate ability to just get blown up by so many things. And right now, there's just enough CC on the side of DFM that if you get hit, that's it. You don't have the front line on the side of Sengoku to really support Pyrian and Yutori Mieshi that long. So if Blank is going to be playing up as far as he is, he needs to be doubly, triply careful, because as it stands right now, DFM are doubling their kill count and looking to grab up their third Baron in a couple minutes here. They will have mid lane on auto push for that, so DFM can just kind of play things by the book. It's going to be on Sengoku to make something happen. They might find DFM here. Stand United is online. Sleep's going to go in. It's going to find 2. Where's the punish opportunity, though, as Pyrian changes target, goes all in onto Saros, gonna go 1-for-1 with the mid laners there. Meanwhile, bottom end of the fight, Opperman still looking for an opportunity to use that ulti. He might find it here, while Sengoku are in retreat. He's gonna pop it backwards just to try and get his team to safety, but not gonna be enough to save his support's life, and just I don't want to say that the answer to Sengoku's problems is to stop dying. But there has not been a single play, good or bad, for Sengoku. Save for one, you got 2 kills off of. That has not cost Sengoku a kill or 2 or 3, or in this case, 2 inhibitors and the next Baron opportunity. Comes back over the wall here. Gang's looking for more action. Gonna be finding it here. Sleep's gonna come in, but there's just no amount of damage that that Sengoku can be dishing out. Unless Pyrian has anything to say about that. Coming off the teleport, will have extra move speed, will have ultimate as well. Sengoku need to have enough confidence to go for a play right now, because you cannot afford this dancing game all over again. You've lost it time and time again. Blake, if I see you on that red buff, that's how you lost game 1. But it's going to be DFM finding the way for Sengoku to lose game 2. The Dawning Shadow's going to rip across. Gang's going to be picking up that kill as Pyrian goes all in just to do nothing to Utapon, who can stay at full HP for this entire fight. Blank's looking to make something happen, but will be going down in the end. The last remaining man standing, Yatoro Maeshi. Jin will, of course, have to put on the performance of a lifetime if he wants to save this one, but being pushed so far from home, he's likely going to be watching his Nexus fall from afar as DFM are going to be wrapping up this game. Go for it. You might as well pad your KDA. You don't have a whole lot else to look forward to in this game. DFM are going to be going up 2-0. I mean, what can you really say about a game like that one? It was... I mean, once again, I think what we're starting to identify is problems for Sengoku in either confidence or team cohesion, which this is a problem that other teams have suffered from in the past, and it's weird to see this almost as a contagious issue now showing symptoms on the side of Sengoku, where we're like, everything in that game did not need to cost Sengoku as much as it did. Way too many times they were just losing bodies, going 1 for 1 at best at times, and ultimately, in the end, that's just Sengoku finding themselves having to battle past way worse of a situation than they had really any right to be in. But as it stands right now, Sengoku, you're looking at your last play opportunity. And I almost feel bad that this is the way that a playoff like this has to go. That Sengoku just don't look as confident as they are, but Mr. Consistent DFM have been showing themselves saying, hey, we used to be champions and we're happy to prove that once more. 2-0 in the series. DFM leading. Will Sengoku keep fighting? Or will DFM be laying them to rest? Don't go anywhere if you guys are enjoying the stream. I am Dr. No. I do all the English broadcasting for the LJL. I do English commentary for LJL. I also do other games like Valorant commentary. I've been casting the EU scene as of recent. I also, likely, during the off-season, I'll have a little bit of Worlds content, but I might be doing the Japan League for Valorant as well. So if you guys are enjoying my content from me personally, or you just want to see more English broadcasting of regions that are lacking it, you can drop a follow down below. My Twitter is also down there if you guys would like to drop a follow there to know when I'm going live, what I'm doing next. I would highly recommend following me on Twitter just because sometimes if I'm on other people's broadcasts, you're going to want to tune into those too. So, of course, you can drop a follow at both spots. All of that being said, though, thank you guys again for tuning in. It does honestly mean a lot for me to have you guys here. We'll be taking a quick break once again. Water, snacks, all the fun stuff as we might be seeing DFM put a DF end to Sengoku's playoff chances. Don't go anywhere.
さあゲンゼニスブレード強引だが入っていった。さあゲンを先頭に、そしてソーラークレアブランクへ、さらにそこから出てきたエビが瞬身後方から先駆け。さあただメガラー状態アパメも返していく。ただエンティローヘルスダブルキルは見逃さずにエビが取っていきます。さあデトネーションフォーカスミー、その瞬身後方エビのアルティメットを生かして集団戦をまずは勝ちました。おっと本当ですね、デスタイマー。さあこのタイミングエンゲージいった。デトネーションフォーカスミー、エンティフラッシュアウト、ゼニスブレードは届かない。エビの先駆けはうまくブランク下の方へムーブしてよけています。さあそしてテレポートから反転狙うのは全国ゲーミング。さあただアパメに対してシールドデイブリックのスタンを入れながらゲンは上側に逃げていく。そしてピリアンがリュウスの衝撃からコーテのブザネ狙うんですが、ここはゲンストップウォッチ。ただこれはしっかりと戦国ゲーミング相手本で1キル獲得。さらにはスネアでスティールが捕まった。アパメンがそのスティールを打ち取って2キル獲得は戦国ゲーミング。バロンの体力は半分、ブルートリンケットを焚いた。さあ戦国ゲーミングはどのような判断を下すか。一旦トーニングシャドウ全体的に体力を減らして、さらにはピリアンにソーラーフレアのスロー。アパメンが横からただいい形でポンと、ただプラスボン飛んできたところにゼニスブレード、さあ合わせてスティール入っていく。エンティも怒りなきフックを投げるんですが、スティールのストップウォッチ。いやーこれで一気にデトネーションフォーカスミーが2キル獲得。戦国ゲーミングも1キル返したが、2トレード有利なトレードはデトネーションフォーカスミー。さらにはアパメンも追われる形。
その E がどれだけ手に入るかですね。
さあしかしこれは強気。ゼニスブレードブランクにヒット。さあそして合わせてゼロスのスタン、一気にバーストを叩き込んでブランクが打ち取られる。飛び込むエビに対しては高低の分差で、ただゲンのダメージでエンティが打ち取られた。フィナーレをサイドから展開、しかしそれをエビがプレッシャーで止めた。でもうバンをするほどだというこのゲン。ただここはエンゲージうまく夢のコモリタは入ってはいるが、狙いはピリアン。セロスに対して高低の分差で合わせてブランクダメージを入れた。さあこれで1キル獲得戦国ゲーミング。ただ最後に残したセロスのタレット、これで11ストレートも持ち込んでいるのはデトネーションフォーカスミー。さらにはトーニングシャドウアパメンアルティメットで返すものの、今回ユタポンがアンストッパブル。2キル獲得はデトネーションフォーカスミー。
反転してゲームエンドずっと見せてますね。
エビが来ている。ただユトリマシにはカウント入っていない。ソーラーフレアはスローにはなっているがスネアで捕まった。まずはエンティを狙いに行く。さあゲンがそのエンティ、おっとただ高低の分差で複数人にかなり当たってはいるがダメージは足りず、ユタボンがドミネーティング。さあ2キル獲得デトネーションフォーカスにブランクが、そしてエビとそしてセロスに囲まれていた。逃げ道はありません。アパメンもここでデッド。4キル獲得がデトネーションフォーカスに。残るはユトリムシ。ただこのスティールとセロスでゾーニングをしている間にもうすでにベースではゲンユタポンそしてエビがゲームエンドを見据えている。さあこのゲーム2も圧倒的デトネーションフォーカスミー勝利してファイナル進出へ。
LJL 2020 brought to you by Ipopitan De, the LJL official drink partner. Passion, respect, pride, energy, all for the team, all for the win, all for the dream. Give it all. Aito! Ippa!
出前館出前がスイスイスイ熱々届くよ出前がスイスイスイ出前館出前がスイスイと出前館で検索。
日清旨辛豚骨旨辛豚骨新発売。辛い味今流行。日本中人気豚骨旨辛ラヨやみつき豚骨も時間じ。白いりごまネギ赤とがらしキコラが豚ミンチ。間違いない味うま辛豚骨のルマヨたら全部買え。間違いない味うま辛豚骨のルマヨたら全部買え。ヘイ日清。
Hello and welcome back, everyone, once again to the English broadcast for the LJL Summer Split. I am, of course, your host, Dr. No, and what we are witnessing here today, in some states, might not be entirely legal. In others, might be punishable by law, and in our own loving community, we call it a slaughter. And it almost feels like Detonation Focus Me are doing nothing out of the ordinary. It feels like DFM came to play League of Legends. They came to play confidently, they react appropriately to plays, their macro has been on point. You can add up all the damage you like on the side of Sengoku when it's not netting kills and every play you're going for costs a life of one of your teammates. That's not gonna bode well for the gold advantages, for the Drake advantages. This game easily could have been over sooner if it was a higher priority Drake. DFM had all the time in the world to grab up 3 Barons before they were like, we'll grab the soul as a formality. Maybe we can get Sengoku to fight over it. All the while, Sengoku, it just felt like every decision they were making was either not made with enough decisiveness or was just flat out the wrong decision in a lot of cases. There was a number of times where it felt like Sengoku should have had enough information to know that the play they were going for was not it, and they decided to all in on it anyway. It's just been a very interesting turn of events coming out of Sengoku, and to see DFM show up in the form that they need to if they want to have their Worlds playoff chance, or their Worlds chances alive against V3 Esports. What a great primer for DFM to really stretch their wings in a game like this. But I have to admit, I would be hoping that Sengoku was putting up a much better fight than they currently are. And I'm hoping that Sengoku are going to be able to not only rally back after their loss here, but ultimately find their footing, as, like we mentioned, confidence has just been distinctly lacking on the side of Sengoku, and it's somewhat upsetting even to really see a team like Sengoku that has been playing just quality League of Legends all through the summer split suddenly decide to start tossing it all away. All of that, of course, being said, I think at this point, if you're DFM, you can't afford to really let off the gas. They always say a cornered animal fights twice as hard, and right now Sengoku are on their last game, but even looking across these player cams, you can see how much it's just kind of been waning on them. This just slew of losses starting in V3 Esports' side of things. And it just does not seem like they have the current confidence. Just the heads down. It's even to battle back from a 2-0 position is just such a journey to undertake in and of itself. And it's clearly starting to affect the players here. I mean, never give up if you are Sengoku. I still firmly believe this is a team that can pull this off, that can play efficiently. It just has not, unfortunately, come to fruition so far this set, and it's slightly disappointing to see them in this sort of state, but maybe just get their ball rolling a little bit. You know, you only need that taste of success for it to start fueling the fire of victory, and then you just want more and more. And once Sengoku, if you're able to ignite that fire, the fire that we know is in them, they've beaten Detonation Focus Me before. What a sad way it would be to watch this team just go quietly and to just kind of peter out as the flame gets burnt out here among them. But once again, we are into draft here. So we are starting things along with a fairly traditional slew of bans. This time, Heimerdinger is going to be making his way to the ban table. little bit overdue to see Heimer's face on the ban list, but is taken from DFM all the same. And as it stands, no matter which side, it feels like DFM just command so much draft attention as 2 mid laners already banned from Sengoku. And what do you even ban at this point? The Shen, maybe? The Senna? Sure, because you really just need to get rid of... You need to put DFM in a position that they need a different answer than what they've already had. You just have to at this point. You relinquish that you cannot find an answer to these 2 champions on the side of DFM. Get rid of them. And once again, high priority on this Lilia. And we'll see what DFM are able to respond with. No Senna this time. They can lock in their jungler again if they'd like, and then lock in something else. Saros hasn't been known to play Zoe, so seeing it banned is not too surprising. And it will be their jungler that they do decide to lock in here, giving that over to the Nidalee. Steel feeling confident in his play from last game, taking this matchup once again. What will accompany it, though, is the question. Karma, actually not a bad option here for DFM, as Saros can play that into the mid lane. You can flex it into top lane if you need to, or just keep it in support position, but Leona going to be showing in for the 3rd time here, punching that card for the side of DFM. And the question just becomes, for Sengoku, are you just going to respond with what you have already? Do you even, I was going to say, do you lock in the Jhin on a blind now? No, you have to lock in new things. You have to try something new at this point in the game, because what you have tried has not worked, and you didn't innovate enough on the last one. You didn't change what you were banning, and you hardly changed your comp. Maybe this will be the path to victory, as Pantheon is going to be picked up here by the side of Sengoku. Huh. Did Set get removed this patch and I am just missing something? I have to even begin to ask that question, as the blind Pantheon, when you already have your jungler locked, I can't imagine what the Pantheon is going to be pulling out here, as Saros is going to be picking up Jhin for Utapon in the bot lane, so Jhin will be seeing all 3 of these games, and maybe more to come. Morgana's going to be banned away. Shen's going to be taken away. Again, Sengoku, these were the champions that give you problems. You might as well ban them, because you haven't found an answer in your play yet. Well, Gnar also going to be taken off the table. Renekton has actually made his way unbanned so far, so might be seeing some scraps up towards the top side. I am so concerned as to where this Pantheon is going, because Pantheon as a champion just falls off like a rock immediately past like 20 minutes into the game. He can be very mobile, he can be a guaranteed stun, and then he can tank out some turret shots with his E. There's potential for Pantheon to be popping off, but where are you putting it at this point? It's not going jungle very likely, unless of course Lilia is flexed into top lane if you get a melee matchup. But you won't even be able to see that just yet. Saros is going to lock in the Ziggs here. A lot of long-range magic damage coming up for the side of DFM, as I would... And the Lucian is going to be locked in here. So I suppose if you're gonna sin with a Pantheon, you might as well double down with a Lucian. And will be a solo lane Lucian. I don't want to say that Sengoku are giving up, but this feels a, a little bit wishful, as it will be the Ornn locked in alongside it. So it is going to be the Pantheon support, which only raises more questions in my mind about why we have a Pantheon. We saw the Leona, and instead of drafting ways to peel the Leona off, you just draft a Pantheon, which has the exact same profile as Leona to only go in, as Volibear is going to be locked in here. And it will be the Volibear into the top lane there for Evi. And you know, you could have asked me a lot of questions about what's the winning formula for Sengoku. You know, what should we expect for Sengoku to try and pull this one out? I don't think I would have said this one. All of that being said, though, Lucian mid can work, and in isolation does offer potential. Lilia, of course, does also have the clear speed to keep up with a Nidalee, so you can sort of depend on the Lilia to keep pace and be around for the mid jungle 2v2s if they start to break out. So potentially something that Sengoku can be looking at to try and pull out a win here. And there is also not a whole lot of very hard tanks on the side of DFM. Evi can go full tank. I don't think he will be going for a Trinity Force here, as you're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage to Ornn anyway. You might as well just go for a Cleaver at best, but you honestly might as well just go for Bombies, as you don't even have that many champions to be applying Black Cleaver stacks for. You know, it's funny because even in the draft, I look at these two comps and I understand where Sengoku are going, but we'll see if they can even go the distance to it. And as we look across the runes here, once again, fairly traditional, everything you would expect. Blank doubling down on his want for damage coming out of that Dark Harvest pickup in the mid lane. It looks like both junglers are going to be starting on the top side. Please, Sengoku, do not go for another invade. This is an invade you can afford to take, but once again, same scenario as before, where if you're going to invade, you need to be confident enough to take the fight. And it looks like another late invade is going to come out. Ward's going to spot it out, so they'll clear it out. Not even going to clear it out, as they will back away here. And will they be fighting it out for this crab? The E's going to find his way onto Blank, trying to find his way forward. Doesn't quite hit two off of just that camp, so it's splitting the jungle a couple different ways. That was the most successful invade Sengoku's had this series, as they do end up picking up, splitting the camp dead even. As Blank is looking for a re-invade, I think. Yeah, I was going to say Steel is onto him. So he's already level 2. He picked it up from being in that mid lane. As Steel is going to go over here to try and fight for this. I don't even know what this is, Sengoku. Stop this, man. Blank just feels like he's stalling. For what? I don't know. But he does seem determined to go for this one, and he will be able to secure it in the end. As Pyrion's just going to put a couple autos into a ward. What is happening on the side of Sengoku? The AI seems to believe in Sengoku, but after watching so much of his play, I don't support the robots, as I... One thing that I've talked to... Oh, and Blank's going for another one. I think Steel might hit 3. I don't know how much mid lane EXP he got, but Blank's gonna make sure he doesn't even have the chance. Gonna be smiting that one away. And hitting level 3 before Steel does, and grabbing a crab to boot. Should be able to double grab here as well. And it's, of course, the game that I want to say or the game that I would talk about it is actually working out for Blank in this one. Is we talk about how, or we've talked before, I've talked off broadcast with a couple other of my analysts. We've talked about how in LPL, a lot of the time that they go for these level 1 invades and these weird level 1 fights, there's a certain amount of confidence that comes with it, that you're going to be looking for a fight here. Oh, Evi sniffing out the invade here, but might just get found out by Blank here. We'll go for the stun, get a little bit of damage. Evi's flashing over the wall. Pyrian, I knew it. Gonna flash over for it, though. Swirling Seed's not quite gonna land, and Pyrian's actually just gonna back away from that one. I'm surprised he didn't commit for that one. I feel like he had enough damage to kill Steel, but also is just as susceptible to death on his own right if the spear is landed on him, so opts to back out of that one in the end. No first blood over to the side of Sengoku. And that was sort of the same situation where Blank kind of took a second to commit onto Evi there. And it easily could have been the kill if he just... It was an auto attack difference, even from Blank at that point. And of course, him getting away there... If you're Sengoku, of course, you're thinking just my luck after an unfortunate first 2 games, but... We'll see what Sengoku are able to make of it, as looks like DFM are going to be pushing for this first Drake. Already 2 levels down. Steel cannot really afford the time it takes to take this Mountain Drake, as one of the things that a lot of junglers tend to talk about is that taking an objective will set you behind in golden XP to the enemy jungler, and every advantage means so much more. Steel, knowing that, is trying to greed out for this red buff, but greed has been his undoing before, and Blank could easily flash the wall and try and chase him down here. His bot lane doesn't quite have priority, so we'll think twice about that one, but making their way in here. Sengoku's bot lane is not rotating just yet, so looks like Blank will be forced to give that one away. He can just opt to smite here if he is close enough to 6. But Steel gets the blue buff, or the red buff in the end. He'll crest into that level 4. Throws a whirling seed at Seros just for good measure, but ultimately for now is just trying to help him shove up the mid lane. Get your mid laner a little bit more priority. Continue for these invades. This is that, Saros says, as a matter of fact, no, that is not your camp, sir. That is now my camp. Pops his ulti over onto that one. Actually crests into level 7 ahead of Pyrian because of it. But now Blank might be caught in a little bit deep here. He can just opt to scrap out with Steel, as the Call of the Forge God's going to come in. Opperman just whiffs on that one, and Evi's not going to get knocked up. He should just be going down anyway, as I don't think that was going to be the difference maker. Steel also going to be going down as well. Trades over a kill. Saros roams up to pick one up, but it's a 2-for-1 overall. Meanwhile, on the bottom side of things, Sengoku gonna have a play started up onto them. That's gonna be their support going down. Enti loses his life there and holds the curtain call shots for now. Waits for the stun. One more will do it, and it will, gang. Throws out the Zenith Blade for a little extra damage. It strikes down the bot lane. Solo kills over to the side of DFM's bot lane.
ボットレーンここまで戦国ゲーミングうまくいっていただけに、いやここは負けてはいけなかったですよね。
And this,
逆にデトネーションフォーカス見て
I'm not entirely sure. I think Evi was going to check the crab originally, and that's why he got here so late. Opperman,
ここはうまく
I
寄る時間を
I don't even entirely know what to say about whiffing an ultimate like that.
はい選手ゴールド入りましたし、
We'll see what happens on the bottom side of thing. And this is sort of exactly what I was talking about with the Pantheon support. Is what are you offering? Are you going to go in harder than a Leona?
エンゲージタイミング、そして Q のスタン待ってから
If you're not going to be using it to try and rush a level 6, ult up to the fight in the top side, then what is this Pantheon really doing?
ちょっと危なかったかもしれないですね、タワーの中
And of course, I sound like I'm being very, very critical of Sengoku here. But again, we've been critical of DFM all split, and they've redeemed themselves. Now, when it's all coming down to it, and you have one last set to determine whether or not you are going to finals, Sengoku just feel asleep at the wheel. This is the best game that they've had going for them so far, and it's 2-3, trading 1-for-1 on objectives, and down a kill. Blank is getting a better end of farm, but it didn't come without a fair share of risk, and
ルートがあるんですけど、
as it stands right now, an engagement once again. How does a Pantheon get out of this one? Quick tip, he doesn't. As that's gonna be one more kill over to DFM's side of things. Now,
そしてトップレーンにブランク、
of course, you can look for a dive onto Evi here. That's gonna be the Rift Herald spawned up. Turret not long for this world. The Whirling Seed is going to miss.
夢見の子守歌の準備はできた。
So sleep is gonna come in. The turret's not gonna die to that charge. The Call of the Forge God does go back this time, but does not quite get the knockup.
ベルノムはフラッシュアウトアパメン、タワーダイブ成功は戦
The Inferno Bomb not quite gonna knock him down to size, as Opperman is a rather tanky lad. As Yutomi as she's looking to run down Saros in the mid lane. Satchel Charge gonna get him to safety there. That's not a hook, so you don't need to be too worried, as Enti tries to just tag him on with a spear there.
はい、いうようなラインでしたね。ここはギリギリゼロその間に合いましたね。これで次に前に出ていってジクスの動きを制限すると。タワーが割れますか、トップレーン。ギリギリ右の座に
And
入ってはいるもののフォーカスずれましたね。そうですね、これで
benefit to Sengoku, a successful dive pulled off, and you can leave that turret up there. Opperman should just be able to run back up there to secure that gold. Or you could even have Blank wait for that one, go up there, repeat the dive, this time without a turret.
さあ、ただここからの少数戦ですよね。明らかにこう CC チェインという面で言うと、
It will end up costing them
ここに王がつながっていく。
Dragon to continue pressuring up towards the top side. They could have even actually gone for a lane swap here, and Yutoto Meyeshi could have gone up there to collect on that gold. Are sending him back into the bot lane once again, and
生まれています。
that might be Enti's demise, as there's a lot of members on this red side. He can scout out with a spear, throws it at the red buff just to try and be a little bit cheeky, but right now DFM firmly in control of this bottom half of the map, so Yutoto Meyeshi and Enti are gonna need to tread carefully around this side. Danger lurks around every corner, and right now it looks like they might be on a steal. The arrow's gonna find its mark. No cleanse available, but no immediate punish. Gang goes a little bit deep here. The ultimate from Ziggs does a decent amount of damage, and Enti does lose his life, but it's 1-for-1, support for support. Blank still has opportunity to find a sleep if it's necessary. Opperman grabs the turret in the top side and has teleport on deck. Call of the Forge God is coming off cooldown shortly. If Blank can find an E here that matters, no, it doesn't quite get the splash damage onto Steel. So unfortunately not going to be able to finish that one off. DFM know that Blank likes taking away camps, so unfortunately not going to be able to do too much about that one. You only have so many Ziggs ultimates that you can dedicate towards a chicken camp, and it's already done it once already. It's Pyrian. Gonna harass Saros, not gonna let him leave a lane just yet. He is going for the Murmana build, which does scale slightly better, but also helps out his lane clear quite a bit, as that's gonna be Call of the Forge God Opperman. As Enti just dies to turret, botches out on that dive, and that's gonna be another dead member of Sengoku. What is happening? Okay, we're not talking about it for the rest of the set. I do not know what is wrong with what is like just mentally happening to Sengoku, but you cannot be messing up Call of the Forge God this many times in a row and then anti-ease towards a Zenith Blade. You can't block the Zenith Blade. Why are you not blocking turret shots there? I'm not sure who's losing full harder, me or Sengoku Gaming, as right now it just feels like nothing seems to be working for them. And they are on land. They did manage to pull these games together, so there's no excuse of online, there's no excuse of latency. Right now, it's just Sengoku are not playing up to par, as DFM are going to start pulling the gold lead back in their favor. With Cloud Drake up, it's going to be an impactful soul. Throws out the sleep here. Blank can't even get in for much damage. Throws a little bit out, but Enti might be the one who pays for it. Arrow goes out, finds his way onto Gang, but again, nothing that you can punish off of. That's 3 tools already used on the side of Sengoku, and you've netted nothing off of it. So now DFM are more than happy to be looking for a re-engage here. They're going to scout out with all the spells in the world, just using their range advantage to great effect here. So they're marching on here. Gang has a solar flare, so he can look for something. Might throw it over the wall here with the little bit of vision that they can acquire. But getting over to this Cloud Drake is going to be important. Either Ocean or Infernal are on the menu, so getting one Drake closer is a pretty good position to be in if you are DFM. Cute Hex Flash there from Gang, but doesn't quite net anything there. Here comes the opportunity. Throws out the Solar Flare. Call of the Forge God gets knocked back. Yutapon goes very low, dealing with Pyrion on the side lane of things. This might be a good fight for Sengoku. They're going to find 2, or is it going to go 1 for 2 so far to start it off. And Sengoku can't quite seem to finish off anything here. Evi getting chased down by a small deer there. And unfortunately for him, happens to be very fast, but unfortunately for Sengoku, DFM walk away with a Drake and halfway to Seoul. And maybe halfway to this series being over fast if DFM continue their rampage here. This looked like it could have been good for Sengoku in the moment, but just took a little bit too much damage before this play was able to get started. Right as Call of the Forge God is up, Opperman's on it. Calls it in, eats a huge spell, and has to kite away, but look at how much time Yutorime as she spins not being able to do damage. Once Gang goes golden, Pyrion, you're able to commit to a kill, sure, and then you can back out, but your front line's gone, so you're just left with these 2 ADCs that have nothing to stand behind. I have to say, we might be looking at a Sengoku that is currently playing on tilt as Gang scaring Pyrion a little bit. Just wants a little bit of extra farm, wants something out of this game, but wanting out of this game feels like what Sengoku wants at the current moment. As Seros grabs up a top lane turret, Hex Flash is going to be going in onto Pyrion here. That's a E landed, that's a W landed, that's a dead Lucian. At the end of the day, mid lane or bot lane, you are still an AD carry. And you are still just as susceptible to being engaged on as the rest of them. As Rift Herald is spawned up here, should allow at least enough pressure to get some damage on this turret. Not quite enough for Seros to land the satchel charge there as he detonates it just a second too early. Opperman throws out the ultimate here, knocks it back into Evi. Blank is coming, and the E landed means he should have enough move speed to get in. I don't think he needed the ultimate there, but expends it nonetheless while 2 turrets fall in the mid lane. DFM are just sort of running around the map at the current moment.
界のコントロールの状況というのがイントネーションフォーカスに圧倒的に有利に立てますから、そうすると睨み合いの状況が作れる。左、ジグス、ジンと、
I
強いチャンピオンが揃っている。それに加えて、レオナの先ほどからのエンゲージがありますから、
so the current issue is that let's talk about the positives for Sengoku here for a minute. As the nice thing is that Opperman, even on a tank like this, is still in a decent position. Has a little bit of a garage sales worth of items in his inventory right now, but having him be tanky enough to stand up to DFM is going to be very important, especially as he's currently the only real tank offered up for Sengoku. MT is going into lethality at 0-5, so he's not going to be doing damage, and he's not going to survive very long once he's in. Blank can offer some team fight potential. You can get something off, but it just feels like DFM have just been monsters. They've just been this unstoppable wall for Sengoku, and it just feels like Sengoku are just weak in the knees and cannot quite stand up to the side of DFM. Be it intimidation or just be it tilt. Sengoku moving over to this Ocean Drake are trying to at least find something in this game. You're down 2 turrets, you're down 2 Drakes. You can't afford to give up much more, but that's just going to be Blank going down here. A great flash from Gang to be looking for that opportunity. Arrow's going to find his way onto Saros, but again, nothing that can be capitalized off of. Curtain Call is going to call for this game to come to a close. He's going to shoot the shot. Yutomayashi going to tank that for him, but Saros is going to find him with an empowered auto. One more Q, not quite going to hit, but Steel's happy to be taking that kill for him. DFM turning their attention to the Baron. This is looking like a 3-0 for DFM. Opperman is just here, just really to watch it go down. You can use your ultimate to try and steal it, I guess. I have not seen a whole lot of better uses for Opperman's ulti so far. Opperman's wandering way too close as well. I genuinely feel a little bad for Sengoku. I am not sure what seems to be falling apart so easily, but right here, Blank is just completely separated. I don't know if he thought he could W over the wall, which would only make me ask why you're playing this champion if you do not know that sort of thing. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this, and it just feels like DFM were the ones that showed up ready to party. Every lane is doing exactly what they're supposed to. Yutapon and Gang, great pressure early, even getting solo kills, constantly forcing Sengoku to back. Saros, just digging deep into his champion pool. Wasn't even forced to for most of this series as he got Heimerdinger twice in a row and then just swapped over to Ziggs to have a poke option. Eva just consistently up in the top lane. He lost a little bit to Opperman, but not enough to really matter. It's that ultimate. Oh, the Deadly Flourish landed as well. We'll go for 1. We'll go for 2. We'll go for 3. We'll go for 4. No, Birian's going to flash away to safety. But that's going to be NT taking his life for it. He threw out his E before any spells are even on the way, only to get solar flared in the end. That one comes from above, my good friend Pantheon, as Blank is going to get hit by another Deadly Flourish here. Goes golden. Steel just trying to save himself there. Good sleep opportunity. Is going to find 2. Call the Forge God's going to come in. It will get batted back this time. Maybe Sengoku can find something here as the DOT will burn down onto Gang. It's going to be 1 here. Sengoku need to try and chase this down. They cannot afford, but they're going to have the thought just a little bit too late. And DFM should be escaping here unless NT can find a stun. But they're going to get zoned away by another Ziggs ultimate. Right now, the chase down is just a little bit too big of an ask. Deadly Flourish landed onto the tank there. Evi cannot get close enough to land that W. As DFM are just going to take the retreat for now. This Baron will peter out with only about a 2.5k gold advantage gained from it, but given DFM's current position, that is not too shabby for you. I'm still trying to find ways back into this game for Sengoku. DFM, I've seen DFM throw from stronger positions. It's definitely happened. That being said, everything I would want to say about what Sengoku needs to be doing, it just feels like this entire game has been a demonstration of how they cannot quite execute on it. Just whatever it may be going on in the team, it is not working out for them. And right now, DFM are just kind of biding their time. They're saying, oh, whatever. We'll wait for this Ocean Drake. We'll wait for the second one. They'll fight us for soul. And with the wallet size of DFM, they're just going to kind of hit them with it. The question really is actually if Sengoku fight for this Ocean Drake, or if they let this one pass over and try to get stronger in the meantime. But with Seros already about to complete his Rabadons, 2 items, almost a third already onto Utapon. I'm hoping for the side of DFM, and right now I'd hope that Sengoku still have hope. They're trying to set up a little bit of a bush of death here. It's a little bit early for that. They will sidestep the spear. Lilia's going to land an E, but nothing they can capitalize off. They want to retain their stealth for now as Colling's going to fly out. Gang! Beautiful flash from Pyrian to avoid on that one, but that's a lot of long-range ultimates. Evi's going to come in to help finish off that kill. Saros flashes away. The arrow's going to go wide as NT not going to be able to quite run away. Ooh, does get it away in the end as only to be found out by the bear. Evi's going to land an E there. That's going to be one dead blank. I don't think he got movement speed off of that one, but does escape to safety in the end. Surprisingly so, as it easily could have been death for the poor deer. There's a Deadly Flourish that's going to land on Yutoda Mayashi. DFM have them routed. Unless Sengoku pull off a miracle here, it's going to be everything for DFM as Deadly Flourish is going to finish off the jungler. Utapon, full HP, is just trying to track down Yutoda Mayashi. That's going to be one. Sengoku's committing a teleport for this Pyrian. I don't exactly know what he thinks he's going to do, but he's going to kill a bear. Might be able to pull something out here, but all the while, Saros is just going to grab 2 inhibitors on the bot side here. Now it's Sengoku's turn to have them routed, but they can't even really afford to chase. Saros is just ending the game. W's going to come in, pop 1 turret down. Saros can just keep his time there. You got it, and you're going to be able to walk away with the Drake. NT's trying to go for something here, but he doesn't have enough friends to really finish that one off. Steel's just going to be able to solo the Ocean Drake. Inhibitors opened in the mid lane. Baron is alive. Not too many steps left in ending. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this was... Beautiful flash from Pyrian. That was my favorite thing, or not flash, beautiful E out of Pyrian. That was my favorite thing to come out of this play. Because everything else from Sengoku was just not it. And I am not sure... I'm not sure what is, as Period's going to be eating a little bit of damage there. Solar Flare, not quite going to finish him off, but a little bit of a love tap from the bear will help him do just that. So Levi still has ultimate. Yeah, there it is. He's going to commit that there. Not going to get any healing as he's just going to flash away, but now it's Gang's turn to get the party started, as the DFM are just going to chase Sengoku down here. Yuta Miyashi is doing a great job kiting out towards the back end of this fight, but it'll only take Yutapon turning his attention towards him. Oh, the Deadly Flourish landed. Yutapon will auto the creep there, but not exactly like Blank has anywhere left to go. Detonation Focus Me are going to take the series 3-0 in a convincing fashion. But if there's one thing I'm convinced of, is that Sengoku didn't deserve anything in this one. DFM putting on a clinic for this series, as they're going to take this one home. GG's to DFM, GG's to Sengoku after a fairly impressive summer split so far, spring as well. But DFM proved just a little bit too steep to meet, as they are going to take this one home. Thank you all again for tuning in. I have been your host, Dr. No. I apologize that it was such a roll for this round 3 of playoffs, but we'll have more League of Legends back for you tomorrow. V3 taking on DFM will be tomorrow's match, same time starting as tonight's match. If you guys would like English coverage for that one, you can drop a follow down below, as well as follow me on Twitter if you want to know exactly when I'm going live. All of that being said, though, thank you all again for tuning in. I do really appreciate you guys actually tuning in, and I'd love to see you all back again tomorrow. Still working on getting that Twitch affiliate, so any of you guys who show up for multiple streams, it really does actually mean the world to me. So, without further ado, I will be signing off. I have been your host, Dr. No. Thank you for joining me on this adventure in a dissension into madness for Sengoku, but DFM coming out on top. Maybe they all are worth the focus actually being on them. Good night, stay safe, and I'll see you all back again tomorrow.